Center fielder, number 10, Connor Denning. Batting third, second baseman, number 2, Zach Neto. Batting fourth, left fielder, number 25, Spencer Packard. Batting fifth, first baseman, number 23, Matthew Christian. Batting sixth, shortstop, number 4, Colin Wolf. Batting seventh, right fielder, number 1, Grant Harris. Batting eighth, the designated hitter, number 11, Bryce Arnold. Batting ninth, catcher, number 9, Ty Babin. On the mound for the Camels, number 38, Ryan Chassie. Head coach of the Fighting Camels is Justin Hare. He is assisted by...
Hey, Turlington, we have not started Anthem yet, so we might need a minute or two.
And Adam Wise.
Just to double check, is that Atomos recording? Boom, thank you. The players are just about to take the field for the anthem.
Here come your Camels. Fans, at this time we ask that you please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and the opportunity we have to enjoy this game. Watch over the participants, keep them from harm, and all of us in your care. We ask that you grant us wisdom and health as we navigate this time. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
The biggest series in the Big South Conference to date begins tonight here in Buies Creek, North Carolina. The Campbell Fighting Camels and the USC Upstate Spartans, who are undefeated at 10-0, their best start since rejoining the Big South 3 years ago. Along with Cole Howell and Evan Budrovich getting you set for first pitch, USC Upstate Spartans a perfect start to their season, including an impressive win at Clemson on Tuesday. And this team, Cole, the best fielding team, best hitting team, and the best pitching team in the league here this far.
They're definitely rolling. They seem to be hitting on all cylinders here early. That's exactly how you want to get off to a great start in conference. So coming in against Campbell, the expected champions, it's going to be a great matchup. I'm excited to see what we get here this weekend.
Campbell is the second best team in hitting, fielding, and pitching. So mano-a-mano this weekend, and the Campbells lead on their ace. The sophomore left-hander Ryan Chassis, who's coming off a loss in his last start, but 2-1 on the year with a 3.18 ERA.
Chassis is a competitive guy. The coaching staff knows what they're going to get from him. He's going to compete in the strike zone, and when he does, he's exceptionally hard to beat.
Justin Hare told us he needs to pitch his game in order to have success, not worry about the opponent on the opposite field and focus on himself. And it is worth noting this is a series where these are two of the three favorites in the Big South coming into the year. This conference schedule, 40 games, right? So it's a big picture, but also in the little picture, this is a huge series.
It is, and each one of these guys wants to get a piece of the other and kind of establish themselves as the favorite. So look for it to be a little chirpy, a lot of energy here going early because it's going to be a big series for both these guys, even though it's early.
What's neat, too, these teams will meet a couple of times throughout the year. 6 matchups, a series at Upstate, slated for early April. Here's Jason Matthews, the upperclassman, the shortstop for USC Upstate. He's been off to a torrid start, 378 average. And really, it's his defense that the coaching staff acquires, but here he is at the plate having a nice year. Ty Babin frames strike one, the catcher for Campbell tonight. He started the last 4 games and gives him a nice piece behind the plate.
He does, and we've seen the bat struggle a little bit. I think a lot of it has to do with his receiving ability behind home plate. He creates such a good picture for the pitching staff. You see him go all the way down back there, and he continues to work. And with Chassis, a guy that's going to try to pound the bottom of the zone, it's going to be important for a catcher to be working up through that baseball, trying to get him the calls at the bottom.
Ryan Chassis, 9 career wins, including the Freshman of the Year honors 2 seasons ago. On 0-2, forces a foul ball. Justin Hare talking about his pitcher. He said one of the best outings in terms of competitive nature he's seen in 14 years as a coach at this program. Back when these teams were in the Atlantic Sun together in the early 2000s, 2007, 2008. Now the sophomore goes to work and misses with his changeup. Jason Matthews in this offense, they are clicking. 313 average. The best run-scoring team in the Big South as well. On cue, Matthews sprays one to right center. Long run for Connor Denning, who sprints into the gap, and it gets past Grant Harris. All the way to the wall as Matthews wants third, and what a start for the Spartans.
Really nice piece of hitting there by Matthews. A ball off the bat I assumed was going to be caught, but seemed to find a second gear halfway out, continued to tail away from Denning, and really creates a tough option for Harris chasing after it as well. Ball drops, and he's going hard out of the box, sliding into third with a leadoff triple.
That's the first triple of the season for Jason Matthews, the pride of New Zealand, and showing a little thunder down under with that extra base hit. This is where the lineup gets dangerous. Julian Ripp checks in. Last year he led this team in batting average, over 330. A little bit of a slower start to his next campaign as he misses the breaking ball. How about the energy we're feeling from these two dugouts here in the very first inning of a long series?
It's interesting you say that because it's definitely louder than it has been so far this year. Both teams know exactly what's on the line, and you can hear it, you can feel it tonight in this stadium.
This Upstate offense coming off a drubbing of Clemson, 12 runs in a victory on Tuesday night as Rip collects a base hit to center. Driving in Matthews, and the Spartans strike for a 1-0 lead.
Another good piece of hitting. Off-speed pitch this time from Chassis. Kind of hangs up in the zone, and Rip does such a good job there of understanding his his job there is to hit a baseball back up the middle, use the big part of the field, and strokes it in there for an RBI.
Third ribby for Julian Rip. We mentioned the international flavor. He's out of the Netherlands. Good little 1-2 tandem for Coach Mike McGuire, who told us coming in, I have 18 different states. I have a roster of players from 4 different countries, a motivated club that has come together playing some really good baseball.
And that's what makes college baseball so awesome is there's kids from all over the country, all over the world that come in and combine for one cause, and here they are. They've come together. They're off to a great start, and they're looking to keep it rolling here the way they've come out swinging the bats here tonight.
Here's Devin Buckner, the catcher for USC Upstate. The Spartans in a unique position. They did bring back 5 seniors from last year's team, but did graduate their starting catcher, was not elected to return. So now Buckner's filled those shoes, and he's hitting .361.
It's always good for a team to have a backstop. It's a guy that's going to lead the defense, put on the plays, and also manage a pitching staff. So anytime you have a guy that you can plug in, that's a coach's best friend right there.
Chassie keeping tabs to the plate and gives up a line drive to right. Harris tracking towards the line. Makes the catch. Runner tagging for second. And the speed of USC Upstate beating the tag. Moving to second base, going Julian Rip.
And not a great swing there by Buckner. Not one he's going to be terribly happy with, but finds a way to be productive. Hits that ball far enough down the right field line to turn it into a productive at bat and move Rip up to second base. Good job of hitting.
Ryan Chassie allowed 4 runs in his last outing. Justin Hare telling us if he executes his pitches, he's super successful. That got away from him a little bit in the last outing.
It did, and it seems to be plaguing him here just a little bit tonight. I talked about Chassie wanting to work the bottom of the strike zone, and here some of those off-speed pitches have just hung up in the zone, and that's what he's gotten beaten on. That's where he can be exposed because he's not a huge velocity guy. He's a guy that's going to create weak contact with multiple pitches at the bottom of the zone. So if he's able to dial it back in, it's only 1 run. Game's far from over, but they need him to extend here tonight and find his way back into the bottom of that strike zone.
Especially with 18 innings slotted tomorrow as Noah Raybon swings and misses. Up and down this lineup for Mike McGuire, it's 300-plus hitters. When your top 6 guys are all hitting 300-plus, Raybon slides into that role with 10 ribbies. It really creates a unique approach.
It does. It makes it really tough on a pitcher, understanding that there's no breaks in this lineup. It's relentless, it's continuous, and there's nowhere in there that he's going to get a cheap or an easy out. He's going to have to compete pitch after pitch because if it gets away from him, we see how they can swing the bat with runners in scoring position already.
USC Upstate 8 runs a game coming into tonight, so they strike with a triple and a single in this first inning. Raybon awaits the 1-2. Runner off for third and Rip, and it's fouled off. The aggressiveness of Julian Rip has been quite interesting tonight, tagging from first on a fly ball and already looking for third.
It has, and it looks to be more than Rip out there. It seems to be really an offensive approach. They've taken hacks early in counts. They're getting their best swing off, and they're also looking to move up on the bases. I think this is something the coaching staff prepared them for, to come in and try to take it to Campbell. Don't necessarily let them dictate the flow of the game. Get out there and control the narrative.
Ground ball foul. Julian Rip was quoted to us by Coach Mike McGuire as saying one of the best base runners he's ever coached and a great defensive outfielder. We're seeing that in the box today as Raybon tries to cash him in.
And Raybon's done a great job. He's fought off back-to-back fastballs, really on the inside black, pitches that Chassie would love to have, time after time after time. Those are big strikeout pitches. He's found a way to get bat on them.
Chassie to the cheddar, and it's fouled out of play. Something unique about this Upstate offense, they're also tough to strike out at the plate. The fewest punch-outs in the league. Facing a Campbell pitching staff that's been cruising in terms of retiring hitters. They have the most strikeouts. Campbell coach Justin Hare tells us his offense is hard to kill. Mike McGuire, coach for USC Upstate, says his offense is scrappy as heck. What a unique matchup here in game 1 as Chassie misses up.
And you have to expect them to be scrappy. Anytime you're putting up 8 runs a game, they're not a huge power team. They're not going to score a ton of runs on the home run like we've seen from Campbell from time to time, but they're on base. They're trying to move up. They're finding ways to be productive at the plate, and that's what's led to their success, not to mention that they can pitch it pretty well and pick it on defense as well.
Another 2-2. Misses up. Breaking ball control, bit of an issue for the sophomore lefty. And he faces an offense that may have had their best performance on Tuesday. A grand slam in the ninth to beat Clemson 12-2. And I know it's just one game. I know it's a midweek game. Not every team's locked in early in the season, but Upstate's playing about as good as anybody right now.
They are, and that's what makes them even tougher. Great pitch there by Chassie, finally able to get Raybon, but they're going to continue to be tough as long as they continue to win. They're rolling high. They can do no evil right now, and sometimes, put the talent aside, when a team just has that kind of confidence and belief in what they do, it gets even that much harder to win, and you can feel the energy coming from that dugout. They're here to play ball.
We mentioned that grand slam. Here's the man who delivered it, Jack Gallagher, who is now 7th in the country in ribbies, 18 RBI in these ludicrous video game numbers in 10 games. He'll face off against Matt Christian, the Campbell first baseman, who has 19 RBI in his first 10 games.
And he had some bad intentions on that swing right there, just missing. Chassie gets away with one that was a little better than I think he would have liked there. 0-0.
Cole, you were both a pitcher and hitter in your career. When you face a team that has accolades, that has success, what are you focusing on in terms of trying to get them out?
You really need to relax, take the name out of it, take the accolades out of it, and figure out who they are as a hitter or a pitcher, and then you sort of build an attack plan based off of what they do. They're essentially no different than any other player, maybe a little higher caliber, but at this level, all these guys should be able to come up with a plan of attack, no matter who's on the mound, what they're doing, or who's at the plate. It's just simplify the game, understand your job, and find a way to get it done.
This Upstate offense, despite Cole's rhetoric there, 23rd in the country in batting average, only trailing the Butler Bulldogs coming into this matchup. They already have a run in, an RBI single by Julian Ripp. There he is at second, and a ground ball goes to Zach Neto. Inning retired. Not before USC Upstate strikes for one. Campbell to the plate when we come back. I'm muting the Nats during these breaks too. Great evening here in Bowies Creek, North Carolina for game one of this series. Upstate strikes for a run. And now the Spartans with their top-ranked pitching staff, top-ranked hitting, best defensive team, really all the accolades you could ask for. They summon Jordan Marks, the junior right-hander out of Brights Grove, Ontario. And the Canadian product, Cole, has been outstanding here this year.
He has. He's a strikeout pitcher. He's a big arm, fastball, slider, changeup guy. He's going to come right at Campbell, and Campbell's going to have to put aside the statistics and understand what he's going to try to attack him with, because he is that dangerous on the mound. He's a shutdown kind of guy. So they're going to have to come with a plan of attack, try to run up that pitch count, and make him work and stress a little bit early if they're going to have success later in this game.
A fastball that can touch 95, supported by a defense that has been lights out this year as well. And it does beg the question early in the year with 10 games, how sustainable is this success for either team, right? Because Upstate's 10-0, Campbell, they're 7-4 into this game, and in a 40-game conference season, we're only 3 in, but how good could these teams be? And it all starts here tonight.
It does, and that's what's so exciting, and I think both these teams are good. They're going to be good down the stretch. I don't think 10-0 is necessarily sustainable for Upstate, but they've established who they are. They're going to be a good team game in and game out. And Campbell, some highs and some lows. They've seen how good they can be. They've also seen how bad they can be. So they're a team that's still essentially looking for an identity where everything's going right now for Upstate. So two teams in different phases, but a big matchup nonetheless.
Waldy Arias starts things off for Campbell. One of 5 players to start every game, yet he has started at 3 different positions. There's the velocity for Marks, 94. He brings it all to the plate, and Aaron Fitt of D1 Baseball, who was here tonight, you might see him running around, scouted him as the best draft prospect in this conference.
Well, he's a big body. He's projectable, and the velocity's already there. So, another thing you mentioned with guys like this is no walks on the year, big strikeout numbers. So he's a guy that knows his stuff. He's got great command for his pitches, and that's rare in a big talent arm like this.
Look at Marks pinpoint the corner for strike 2. He is coming off his worst start as a Spartan this year. Gave up 6 runs against Radford, but Coach Mike McGuire told us he wanted to keep him in the game, grind through a couple of runs, and his team came back to win 7-6.
Which, if anything, gives him more confidence.
Arias down the line and fair into the corner. Nice job by Rip to knock that ball down, keeping it a leadoff single.
A real nice job of Arias against a big arm, finding a way to get it done with 2 strikes. But, Evan, you're exactly right. Great job by Julian Rip, getting over there, getting around the baseball, delivering a strike to second base, and holding Arias over there at first base. That's a big play, especially with them putting up 1 in the top of the first.
Julian Rip is one of the best defensive players in this league. That was Exhibit A right there. Because if he misses that slide, it's probably a triple for the speedster and Arias.
It is. That ball will go by you, and on this turf, it'll run for days, and that's the last thing you want. But you also love the confidence in one of your great outfielders making a big play.
There's the red-hot Connor Denning. Digs in at 375 and attacks the first pitch. This is a deep fly ball to center that sends the center fielder back to the track, and Hennessy makes the catch. Arias tags to second, and there's the speed of the Campbell leadoff man.
Big swing there by Denning. Had bad intentions. Gets a pretty good portion of that baseball. Not quite enough. Caught at the track, but another good job of Arias moving up into second base, understanding the situation there. Good decision to go back and tag.
Jordan Marks in this club. He was a part of this program when they were not very good in the Big South. Finished as an 8 seed 2 years ago. Won just 23 games. New coaching staff comes in from Morehead State. And what do? Well, last year, a 13-3 start. You wonder if that can be projectable and it carries over. And they've carried it pretty well, 10-0 this year. If there is one area teams have had success against Upstate, it is on the bases, stealing bags. Opponents are 5 for 7. And Campbell is more aggressive than any team in this league, already 20 steals.
They are. They're going to look to test Upstate, see if they can hold them on the bases, but they're also going to be careful. They've been picked off a few times this year, so they're going to have to proceed with caution, make sure they're not giving away easy outs on the bases either.
Sounds like a trip home from school on a Wednesday afternoon as Neto takes strike 1. Zach Neto back from injury the last 2 weekends, and his defensive presence may be just as valuable as his hitting.
Yeah, I would have to agree. We saw and talked a ton about some of Campbell's defensive woes early, and it seemed as soon as they got Neto back into the lineup, he opens up so much versatility for Arias to stay at third, Wolf at short. It just gives a more complete infield feel, and he has so much range and arm out there. He just opens up a ton of different plays for the Campbell defense.
Marks with that hesitation move, keeping tabs on Arias. So last weekend, Campbell hosted Gardner-Webb in this ballpark. There was no chatter in that ballgame until about the 8th inning. What a different dynamic we have here in the first inning of this one.
Well, this is exciting. It's fun. There's a few more people here, and you can feel the environment. You can feel what it's all about, what's on the line. And this is college baseball right here. A couple teams that want it, and we're going to find out who wants it more here this weekend.
Upstate strikes for a run on 2 hits in the top half. And Zach Neto sitting on 1 RBI. Looks to get hit back rolling here in the first. The 0-2 is popped up in a shallow right. There's McIntosh calling for it. Out 2.
And a good sequence there from Jordan Marks. Starting Neto out with the breaking ball, channels that back to the fastball in the outside corner for strike 2. At that point, he's got all options available. Chooses to go back to the slider, gets Neto out front for the weak fly out to second base.
We mentioned that Upstate defense, they have been flawless, .985 fielding percentage. Their first experience on turf this year, which actually should probably help the Spartans if you think about it. Here's Spencer Packer with 2 outs, taking strike 1. Think about how this inning changes by that play from Julian Ripp. Instead of a double for Arias, who would have moved to third and possibly scored, now he's holding there with 2 outs in this first inning.
It's crazy how baseball works, especially with great athletes on the corners. They can take away so many extra plays, extra bags from the other team, and you're exactly right. He saved a run.
Packard slaps one to center. Hennessy perfectly positioned for out number 3. We go to the second inning. 1-0 Upstate here on ESPN+.
Power isn't born, it's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain. And we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Pepsi Wild Cherry.
Tired of cooking at home? Change it up without getting up. Just order Jersey Mike's through our app for no-contact delivery or no-contact at-the-door pickup. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Tasha, did you know Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance and a whole lot more? So what are you waiting for? Hip-hop group tag team to help you plan dessert?
French vanilla, rocky road, chocolate peanut butter cookie dough. Scoop this, scoop this, scoop this,
Scoop, there it is. Chocolate, 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 scoop.
Geico. Switch today and see all the ways you could save.
Welcome back to Jim Perry Stadium. USC Upstate leading 1-0 as Ryan Chassie returns to work. First pitch swing. It's a deep shot down the left field line and a home run for Cameron McIntosh.
And that's going to be the trouble miss there for Chassie. That's a changeup that's left up, and McIntosh doesn't miss an ounce of it. Swinging early in the count, coming to the plate, ready to hit, and that ball's hit about 370 feet down that left field line. Good job of him being prepared, understanding Chassie's challenging early with a lot of off speed.
First home run of the season for the Upstate second baseman. They have come ready to rock and roll. First home run Ryan Chassie has surrendered this year. Justin Hare, kind of a revealing quote coming into the week. He said, USC Upstate's playing like the best team in the country right now. Not just the conference, not just the region. They're playing some great baseball, and it's showing here as Adam Grob, the DH, flies out to center. Good response by the sophomore left-hander.
Great response there by Chassie. It looks like it's going to be a night where he doesn't have his best stuff, and unfortunately for pitchers, that's about 3 or 4 out of 5 outings that you're going to have. So it's going to be important for him to compete. Campbell's proven they can score runs, they can score quick. So if he can grind this thing out, that's his job now tonight, is to keep this under 3 runs.
This is Chase Matheny, the left fielder for Upstate. So in the first inning, USC Upstate swung at the first pitch 3 of the first 4 hitters. This inning, a little more patient, but that home run by McIntosh makes it 2-0. There's strike 1, called by Brian Miller, a home plate umpire.
And that was a good changeup from Chassie, the one that he was trying to execute against McIntosh. The big difference there is when he's down in the zone, he gets so much more arm side run and sink on that changeup. When he's up in the zone, it stays flatter.
The 1-1 is poked out to left. Packard can't get to it, and the 4th hit of the night for the Spartans.
Well, they continue to have a relentless attack. They seem to be stepping up to the plate with a ton of confidence, and they haven't missed a ton of barrels either. So even a few of their outs have been hard, and the Campbell pitching staff might have their work cut out for them this weekend.
This offense came in hitting .320. They've been off to a prolific start in these first 2 innings. And now the secret sauce to any lineup, a good lefty hitting in the 9-hole. Jack Hennessy, cheers my friend as he steps in. Hennessy looks to bunt, challenges the pitcher. Awkward angle as he turns it for the 2nd out.
It was, and he showed off a ton of speed getting down the first base line. I thought was initially a free out for Chassis. It turned into a bit of a difficult play there down and a bang-bang play at first base.
So as a hitter, you're trying to challenge the lefty pitcher to move to his left, correct?
Yeah, right there he was trying to drag that baseball, bring it with him down that first base line, and essentially what you want to do is create a bit of indecision and miscommunication between the pitcher and first base. And if you can do that, chances are you can beat the flip or the tag.
2 gone by for the top of the order as Jason Matthews takes strike 1. Matthews in 75 career games, a run producer, 86 hits and 60 runs scored at the top of this upstate lineup. He's one of the few who's been around this program from day one since Mike McGuire took over the program 2 years ago. They have had no issue scoring runs this year, to McGuire's credit. That's how he built the program at Morehead State, made a couple of regionals, won an OVC title in his tenure. The 0-2 is past the umpire, robbed by Wolf from his knees, makes the throw to first, and are you kidding me?
What a great play there by Colin Wolf. He's the leader of this defense and showing exactly why right there.
We go to the bottom of the 2nd. Wolf saves a run.
The top of 1st, there was a run on 2 hits.
Thanks, Turlington. Oh, look at Josh calling the shots in there. Listen to him. USC Upstate with a commanding 2-0 lead here in the first inning and a half of play. The Spartans, who have dominated this series all time, but now rejoining the Big South. These teams split a matchup 2 years ago. They did not play this year. How motivated could a club be in Upstate trying to prove their worth in the conference?
Oh, they should be motivated as all get out. You talk about the hot start last year, only to have to essentially give up the season. That's a long time to wait, especially when you feel like you have the makings of a championship ball club that can compete in the postseason. So they waited a year. Here they are again, showing that it wasn't a fluke, and they're off to another hot start. And really we've already seen all aspects of their game kind of come to life here. Great defense, great pitching, great offense. So it's fun to watch. It's a good brand of baseball.
Jordan Marks faces Matt Christian and blows it by him for strike one. Christian gets the start at first base tonight. One thing for sure, he's been touching a lot of bags. How about that Gardner-Webb series last weekend? 10 RBI. He is coming off an 0 for 4 outing on Tuesday as he flies out of play.
He's definitely looked good this season. It's essentially been a lot of all or nothing. He can hit the long ball. He's a guy that can get hot. It's just a matter of finding a way to maintain it, especially when you come in on a Friday night against a guy like Jordan Marks that really has dominant stuff. You got to find a way to get your 1 for 3s. And
he did go around on the pitch. Now can the catcher find it? Then Buckner, and the wild pitch results in a runner for Campbell.
And that's going to be a tough one for Jordan Marks. Did everything he needed to do there to get his strikeout. Unfortunately, gets away from Buckner behind the plate. Really a tough pitch to block, and good wherewithal from Christian to make the 90 feet run down to first base.
You mentioned it, Cole. 23 strikeouts for Jordan Marks, not a single walk on his season. That's a strikeout. He did his job, just couldn't get the help from his defense.
I think Campbell can use the no walks thing to their advantage if they structure it the right way. You have to understand that he's going to be in the zone. He's going to attack. We've seen a ton of fastballs. 95% of them have been on the outer half. So if you're Campbell here, you got to be thinking eliminate the inner half, try to jump on fastball. If you can eliminate that, you can deal with breaking pitches and off speed later in the game. Try to figure it out as you work through it.
Marks on 0-1, gives up a foul ball out of play. Colin Wolf, the hitter at the plate, has had a slow start here in his last 5 games, hitting just 200. But that defensive play at short was outstanding.
It was spectacular. He brings so much more than a bat to the lineup. He's a leader in the dugout. He's a leader amongst his teammates, and you got to figure the bat's going to pick it up sooner or later. But without a doubt, saving a run there at the top of the inning.
That would have made it 3-0 Upstate, and bats that had not been missing balls all day. Critical point in this game for Ryan Chassie, the Campbell starter. Facing off with Jordan Marks, who looks to bounce back from a 6-run outing last Friday night. That was at home against Radford. Wolf smacks one out to left. There's Chase Matheny for the first down. Boy, in these first 2 innings, no team has missed a barrel at all.
No, and it's been tough luck for Campbell. A couple balls hit hard, but kudos to Upstate. When you win a bunch of ball games, sometimes the ball just seems to bounce your way. And tonight, Campbell's hit balls hard right at him, and there's not much you can do about it. That's baseball sometimes. That's the way the ball bounces.
Bounces into the lap of Grant Harris, who gets the start in right field tonight, a 267 hitter. Jordan Marks in a picturesque inning delivers a strike that Harris smacks out of play. You guessed it, Cole. Jordan Marks tonight, a first pitch strike to all but one hitter in this game. He's been attacking the zone and getting some help from his defense, too.
He is, and it's going to be important for Campbell not to give away any opportunities. He's a guy that you need to capitalize. You're not going to get as much as maybe you would against a lesser arm. So take advantage of what you have. You're only chasing 2 right now, but you can't go giving a winning ball club opportunities.
Buckner took a shot off his helmet that time. Hope he's all right. Buckner, the 2-year catcher behind the plate. He had some big shoes to fill for this Upstate lineup. They lost Ben Olson, who also was a catcher DH for the team, a freshman who transferred out of the program, and he slid into that role very well behind the plate. I feel like Grant Harris is a 3-year journeyman, just in terms of his career, trying to find innings, find at-bats at the plate.
He is, and he consistently finds a way in. His defense in right field, he's by far and away, the best defensive right fielder that Campbell has. And a lot of the time, that's what gets him in. It strikes out there. That's a really nice pitch by Jordan Marks as well. But, his bat's up and down. His defense is great. He's a guy, you're right, he won't go away. He's going to compete for innings.
He does go down on the breaking ball. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Jordan Marks. And here's Bryce Arnold getting a rare start at the DH position tonight out of Grimsby, Ontario. Not many times you have a Canadian pitcher against a Canadian hitter, but it's neat to see here in the 2nd inning. This Campbell coaching staff loves the bat of Bryce Arnold. And they say despite some really defensive mishaps, he has an ability to play at second base a lot throughout his career.
He does, and especially being so young, it's great for him to at least get in the lineup. It's awesome that the coaching staff understands what he does bring to the plate offensively. It also shows a lot about his maturity, able to handle a guy like Jordan Marks. That's a lot of faith in a coaching staff to put a freshman out there.
Jordan Marks was the pitcher of the week in this conference in week 1, where he struck out 8 against Toledo, helping Upstate to this 10-0 start. Jordan Marks with 3 strikeouts. A nice frame in the second. USC Upstate rolling through 2. Thank you, Turlington. Welcome back inside Jim Perry Stadium. Time for the top of the third and a picture-perfect night. I mean, you couldn't really beat this weather. It was Ryan Chassie. He's given up 4 hits in his first 2 innings. And a good hard hit ball by Julian Ripp, my favorite player on the Upstate team.
There's a lot to love about what we've seen from him so far.
It's my favorite. It doesn't have to be your favorite. Who's impressed you the most on this Upstate team then?
I think it's Marks. Marks for me on the mound has looked very good.
There's a strike. Ryan Chassie's had to climb out of 2 runs on 4 hits. And he faces the senior captain in Julian Ripp. Still 0-2. We have not seen the strikeout type of stuff from Chassie tonight we are used to seeing. 18 Ks in 19 innings. Give credit to Upstate being competitive at the plate.
Well, a lot of it has been their approach. The old saying, you can't strike out with less than 2 strikes, and that's exactly what they've done is they've attacked him early, and they haven't found themselves in a ton of 2-strike counts.
Here's a weak fly ball to Colin Wolf. Big fan of the Oakleys he's got in his head as well.
You like the Oakleys?
You got to wear them. I know there's folklore about wearing them in the sun and does it affect your vision, but when the sun's setting, I'm a big fan of wearing sunglasses.
I liked them, especially, the sun does set down the first base line here.
That's the rainbow strata he has on his face as well.
So he's reflecting all those rays, eliminating some glare. I like what I've seen from Wolf out there at short.
Think about that play he made last inning, robbing a base hit. That was excellent. That last play a little more calm, cool, and casual, like yourself, Cole, California native. Devin Buckner, the catcher, takes strike 1. Buckner's one of 5 hitters in this lineup with 10 or more RBI, and we're only 10 games into the season.
Well, these guys they've had guys on base, so you can see how it's easy for everybody to pick up RBIs. Everybody's hitting with somebody on most of the time, and they have been throughout the year. So at that point, all you have to do is execute, and it should be easier to hit with runners on, and that's why we see these guys have so much success. They're putting themselves and their teammates in good positions to succeed.
Buckner hits in 7 of his first 10 games. A torrid start. He slots in at .351. Chassie challenges him with the heat. Colin Wolf dropped it. Oh boy, a rare error from the Campbell shortstop.
And I think there's just a little bit of confusion there on the read from Colin Wolf. A ball that essentially saws Buckner off at the plate. It has some funky spin with the sun setting. It looked like he just never got a great read on the baseball, got caught in between reaching for the catch or maybe letting it short hop and trying to make a throw across, and ends up getting eaten up by it a little bit.
I think a huge part of that play, too, is the speed of Buckner, right? Because if Wolf can take his time with a, let's say, a 20 speed runner, doesn't have to rush to make that play.
Right.
Batter now is Noah Raybon, the lone strikeout victim of Chassis tonight. This is the question that Campbell has right now with Cam Cowan out the last couple of weeks due to injury. Knowing with a doubleheader tomorrow, starting pitching is so important. How valuable will be extended innings from Chassis, especially here in Game 1?
It's huge, and we've seen the doubleheaders, the toll it takes on a team, a pitching staff. It's going to be important for Chassis, he's still in relatively good shape at 38 pitches. He's chasing 2, but he's not in a terrible place. He's not in a point of no return. So if he can settle in, get a ground ball, I think he can manage that pitch count. He is an experienced arm, and I would be surprised to see him get any sort of quick hook from the coaching staff.
Ryan Chassis, the most competitive pitcher on this staff, according to Tyler Robinson, the Campbell pitching coach. And now competes on 0-2 and gives up a ground ball. This could be 2. Wolf gets his redemption on the double play. Upstate 2-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the 3rd.
In the last 10 years, Emerge Orthopedics has really been on the forefront of doing orthopedic urgent care. We realize that a lot of these accidents happen after hours, and patients want to get seen and get diagnosed and get taken care of. Emerge has a number of orthopedic urgent cares throughout the Triangle, and some of which are open 7 days a week, open till 9 o'clock at night, and that's been a huge benefit to patients. Patients routinely give us compliments on that and the care they receive there.
We are not merely an institution of higher education. We are transforming lives and empowering students to become leaders.
Leaders in our communities, in our state, and throughout the world.
Leaders in innovation.
Leaders in service to our neighbors.
Join our movement. Join our community. Join our mission. Lead with purpose. Lead with Campbell.
Crust is the most important part of stuffed crust. It's half the name. Papa John's crust is made from 6 simple ingredients. 7 if you count all this cheese. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Papa John's is known for its crispy, fresh crust full of warm, fluffy pockets. And now they're known for stuffing those pockets with cheese. I love you, cheese. Get a new epic stuffed crust pizza with 1 topping for just $12. Papa John's.
How about those super seats in left field? Great night for baseball, and these two teams swinging it well. 2-0 Upstate here in the 3rd. Campbell to the bottom part of the lineup where Ty Babin gets things started. And we've talked about facial hair all week, Cole, here on these home broadcasts. And what do you think of Ty Babin's mustache he's growing out here in March?
I'm a big fan. I think anything that the guys can get behind is great. So it'll unite them with the mustache possibly. But Babin, he could be leading the pack as far as how good that mustache really is.
On your first team all-conference facial hair.
He is. He's on my first team all-conference.
Jordan Marks doesn't need facial hair. He's been pumping strikes tonight. 23 pitches in his first 2 innings. And there you go, strike 1 to Babin.
Campbell's been aggressive about 50-60% of the time on that outside fastball that Marks is using to get ahead. I love that approach. Would love to see them just be able to capitalize. They haven't been able to really take advantage of it yet.
Babin pokes one off the end of his bat. Nice scoop by Raybon for the first out.
Of Jordan Marks coming out, staying in rhythm. He understands, he's got the lead. The ball's in his court. Goes right at Babin there with back-to-back fastballs and just is able to beat him with velocity on the inner half.
After allowing that leadoff single, Jordan Marks, he's retired every batter he's faced since. And really the only man to reach was the strikeout wild pitch. Otherwise, he's been perfect.
Yeah, and I really admired how he went about continuing to work after that batter reached base. That can be a frustrating thing, especially when you are rolling. And he was able to just clear it off his mind, check back in, and complete his inning. And here he is again, getting things started exactly the way he wants.
Jordan Marks, the ace of this fantastic pitching staff for Upstate. Gets Waldy Arias out in front. Oh, no, he did not swing, says J.R. Brown.
I always wondered as an umpire, that's got to be a tough view. That's a tough call. I figure that's one of the tougher ones for the umpire. I thought for sure he went around there, but
especially the way the body moves, right? I know it's about the hands and whether they break the plane of the plate, but there was a lot of movement from the hitter.
There was. It was almost like his whole body went and possibly his hands stayed back. And
I'd argue in baseball it should be whether the batter actually attempts to swing. If there is a true attempt. I understand some hitters have the ability to hold their hands in place, but if you are trying to swing at the baseball, it's very evident to an umpire and to us here watching.
It is. It's a rule that really frustrates hitters and pitchers. It's called correctly maybe 50% of the time, but it's just so tough to see. As fast as these guys swing the bat and the angles at which the umpires are able to see, it's got to be a tough call. I don't envy their position on those at all.
Like we see this Arias play, he literally turns his entire body except his wrist and takes ball 4 for a 5-pitch walk. But everything else is committed, just not the bottom left hand. I mean, that would seem to be a swing in my opinion.
I guess it has to do with whether or not you could have put a ball in play possibly with the swing, but it's tough. Regardless, good take there on the outer half by Arias, understanding that ball is about 2 inches off, and not a call that Marks has been getting so far this game, or that Chassie's been getting for that matter either.
Jordan Marks was the player of the week and the starting pitcher of the week to open up his career. He's bounced back with wins in 2 of his last 3 starts, keeping tabs on Arias. We heralded the hitting accolades of USC Upstate. The pitching side of it is not bad either. Already 3 shutouts as a staff over these first 10 games. And an ERA in the top 30 in the country, 2.9.
Well, they've definitely found the recipe for success. It's working for them. They get after pitchers early. They get a bunch of guys on base and cause havoc, and then their pitching staff does a great job of throwing strikes, creating balls in play to a very trustworthy defense playing behind them.
Cole, you played on a team here at Campbell in 2015. It started 20-5. They were clicking as well as anybody in the Big South. What is that confidence level like as a player?
It's actually unbelievable, and that's why I've spoken about it a little bit with Upstate starting 10-0, because you're winning baseball games, and sometimes you look back and you're not sure how, why, or anything like that. You're winning games you don't necessarily deserve to win, but when the going's good, the going's great, and that's where they're at right now. I think there's going to be a game or two where they stumble and really come back to reality, but they're a good ball club. You can see why they've won so many games.
Connor Denning smacks foul, strike 2. Sounds like a trip to the buffet, especially when you're rolling. You get the nice sides and the samplers, you mix it in. You avoid the certain types of meats. You got to be careful. But
I think when you go into the buffet, pasta's probably a pretty safe bet.
When you hit that cornbread, always a safe option.
Maybe hit the soft serve machine on the way out.
Connor Denning's been serving up some hits here this year. 375 clip with 4 dingers. Marks on a breaking ball and a nice battle from Denning. I think what's most impressive about Denning at the plate is the growth from year 1 to year 2 in this program. He hit below 200, maybe a handful, 8-9 at-bats, and he's got more time this year and the production has picked up.
And he's really the central part of this offense. He's hitting in the 2-hole, but he's a guy with a ton of power. He hits from both sides of the plate, and hitting at a 375 clip. He does it all at the plate. He does a little bit of everything, and he plays a great center field for him as well.
Marks trying to nibble with his breaking ball, evens the count. Remember, Jordan Marks has not walked a hitter until this inning, his first walk all season. Meanwhile, he struck out 25, so the control is very evident.
It is, and it was a good job by Arias. I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see him try to move up, but with Denning here, it's going to be tricky to see if he puts a ball in play as well.
He does, and it's a base hit. Arias sprints for third. Denning wants second himself as he trips around the bag. Now a rundown. Here's the shortstop. He goes to the plate. The tag from Buckner is perfect, and Upstate defends it beautifully.
And a nice veteran play there by the Upstate defense, understanding the situation. It looked like Denning stumbled around first base, possibly tweaking his leg, but gets hung out in a rundown. really a great job of Matthews getting that ball at second base, moving Denning back towards first, gets the call to throw home, delivers a strike. Great play by the veteran shortstop.
So I understand that Denning's trying to buy time for his runner, but at some point if you're Arias, do you have to commit to the plate? Can you not just go back to third and then you give up the out in Denning? It's a tricky maneuver, but it does seem like that goes through your mind a bit.
It does, and what I would have loved to have seen happen was to see Denning retreat back towards first base, and then you get an upstate player, whoever's able to field the ball from first base, moving towards second, away from home, and then Arias make his break, because that momentum should carry them out towards the outfield instead of being able to throw a rocket to the plate and gun him out.
And that's what Jason Matthews did, a
right.
great throw to the plate. Now 2 outs in the inning for Zach Neto, and even the tone of this inning sort of changes. We talk about Upstate's great fielding defensively, and that's Exhibit A right there.
It is. It's just knowing how to play the game. Those are the plays you go over on, Wednesdays in the fall, where it seems like you've been out here for 12 hours and you're just grinding away at it.
You may not be far off on the time.
But it's a great job putting the practice into play, because those are plays in college baseball you can see get away from teams, and would have opened this inning up wide for Campbell if they're able to get one and then move Denning into scoring position as well. But instead it's a turn of events. We're still at a 2-0 lead for Upstate here in the bottom of the third.
Mike McGuire won 183 games at Morehead State. So much success for that program. He comes to Upstate and brings that level of winning to this 10-0 ball club. Neto, a hefty swing for strike 2.
And what we've seen from them, really, you want to talk about a coaching style, we've seen high-level execution. They've executed at the plate. They've executed on the mound, and right there with a tricky play. They really could go either way. They executed to perfection, gun the runner down at the plate.
Jordan Marks 1 pitch away from escaping this inning. Neto slaps one to the left, but it hangs up for Matheny, who makes a nice running catch. We'll go to the 4th inning. USC Upstate leading by 2. USC Upstate trying to make a statement here in the second conference series weekend of the year. A 2-0 lead early, and the Spartans, who dominated Radford, a 3-game sweep, taking on a Campbell team that won the final 2 games of the weekend against Gardner-Webb. These are 2 of just 4 teams with winning records in league play as Chassis works ahead 0-2. Jack Gallagher gets things started for the Spartans. And you don't want to put too much stock into a, let's face it, early March weekend series. However, 2 teams of this caliber, I think it does add a little bit more juice to it.
It does, and you never want to overlook or overhype a moment either. So, but both these guys understand this game's important more so for momentum than anything else. And Campbell wants to knock USC Upstate off their high horse, because right now they can do no evil on a baseball field, and vice versa. They're trying to establish their dominance and show Campbell this is no fluke. We're here to play. We're here to win. But you're right. With 40 games in a conference season, anything can happen. Both of these teams are going to have good weeks. They're going to have bad weeks. It's just a matter of, who's really peaking when that conference tournament comes around, and are you in the Final Four that's able to get the spot?
That's a huge point. Only 4 teams qualify as Gallagher grounds out to Colin Wolf. Ryan Chassie has now retired 4 in a row.
And he's pitching a lot better. He looks significantly better on the mound, and when I say that, it's because he's changed a little bit of his game plan. He's powering that fastball in on right-handed hitters, and it's tying them up a bit, but it's also getting them off his off-speed. So good adjustment, good mid-game adjustment before too much damage was done, and look for him to try to settle back in because his pitch count is still very much manageable.
Cameron McIntosh homered on the first pitch of the inning back in the second, taking strike 1. First career home run for the upstate second baseman. Junior out of Gig Harbor, Washington, Tacoma Community College. Played the same league as Colin Wolf and Mason De La Cruz. Those guys know each other very well. Something to note with this ballpark, when the sun starts to set and that cold weather kicks in, the ball's not going to fly as well, and you do wonder, the way the first 3 innings went, if that's going to translate to later in this game.
You're right. This ballpark really transforms in a matter of about an hour. That colder weather sets in. The wind's not going to blow. It gets tough to hit.
Waldy Arias lets it roll foul.
That right there was Waldy Arias knowing home turf.
Right.
Because to us, people that just really spectate games, I thought he should have came in and tried to make a play on it, but really the savvy veteran move over there at third base understands with the side spin, it's going to grip pretty well on this turf, and sure enough, it jolts straight to the left for a foul ball.
Read the English off the bat of a McIntosh hitter now with that home run is hitting .395. How about that presence slotting in the 6 hole tonight?
That's a treasure chest worth of hitters right there, and we talked about how competitive they were 1 through 9.
Instead, Arias gets the ball in play and a second straight out. Almost like he called for it there at the hot corner.
We've seen him make a ton of plays. I feel pretty confident. This Campbell Winfield's really stepping their game up here lately. They've cleaned up the defensive woes, and they're a confident bunch trying to show Coach Hare they can handle it on that side of it as well.
Here's Adam Grob with 2 outs. The DH takes a hefty swing.
And that's back-to-back-to-back inside fastballs this inning to upstate hitters to start off the count. We'll see if they can react because Chassie's been able to establish that fastball a whole lot more than he was early pitching to the outer half of the plate.
Just the 4th start of the year for Adam Grobe, who works the count even. The Spartans starting 9 has played almost every game, very consistent, but that DH role has rotated throughout the year. They're trying to find the right piece in a lineup that has been clicking. Grobe down 1-2.
A good changeup there from Chassie. Good depth. You see it really fall off the table, back to his arm side. Great pitch to a right-handed hitter.
Drew Camp and Jeff Taylor were rotated in that DH role as well. It's Grobe tonight on 1-2. Could be a quick inning here for Ryan Chassie. 3 ground ball outs, and the lefty is rolling. We head to the bottom of the 4th here in Buies Creek. Jordan Marks sitting with a 2-run lead on 39 pitches. Cole, how's he been able to keep this Campbell lineup off balance?
Well, he's getting ahead of hitters. We did talk a little bit about him giving up his first walk of the year, but really that's been the outlier on the night. He's been attacking guys with fastball in the outer half, been able to get ahead early, and then he's going back to that slider for the big strikeouts.
This USC Upstate pitching staff, part of this 10-0 start, of course, they've been excellent. 90 innings of work, only 25 walks. They attack the zone, challenge hitters. And Marks is the key cog in that equation as he faces Spencer Packard. Packard out in front of that ball, but he did not miss his last swing. Ripped one into left center. Really great defensive positioning of Hennessy to rob him of an extra base hit.
The ball was absolutely crushed. One of the harder balls we've seen hit all night, and I think that's what queued up the changeup there from Marks. First one we've seen and a good one. Really bringing it out of the back pocket, and that's why you saw the big swing through from Packard. It's a pitch that we haven't seen tonight to any Campbell hitter, and beautiful execution there as well.
Facing a hitter in Packard who's top 5 in the batting average in the Big South. Good slider for strike 2. In fact, Packard's now reached base in 22 straight games, which is incredible. That dates back to what, 2020? You add a year to it. Just a red-hot hitter. Marks is sitting pretty up ahead, forcing weak contact. Early in this game, Cole, every ball was hit hard. The sun is now set. I know it's just a little thing, but weak contact, batters out in front. The adjustments from the pitchers has been nice to see.
The pitchers are adjusting, and the batters are going to have to adjust to the visuals as well. This is a ballpark that can be tough to see in, especially in times like this in the backdrop. That ball can really blur out.
That hits Spencer Packard. And the Camels get hit by a pitch for a Big South leading 21st time.
And that hit by pitch, you can chalk it up to good work by Packard. That was back-to-back sliders that Marks was really going for the back foot. Packard fouls off the first one. He understands he's going to have to drive that ball a little bit deeper in on Packard's back foot. Not able to get there, hits him on the front leg, and really a good hit by pitch that was earned by Packard's competitive swing with 2 strikes.
From one slugger to another, Matt Christian, 4th in the country in RBI. Looking to add to it on that swing. We asked Matt Christian in a podcast this week, what is the feeling, what is the euphoria of having that much success? And he said, every ball I hit, I feel like I can go out of the ballpark. He's got the power to do it.
He does, and the only problem with where he's at right now is everything's going to change for him. He's a guy, that everybody knew had power but hadn't necessarily displayed it to that effect. And once you hit a couple grand slams, a couple really deep home runs, people start to pitch you different. And a lot of these pitchers are going to come in and say, okay, we're not going to let Christian beat us on a home run. And that can really change your outlook and how disciplined you are at the plate. And right there, not too many times you see a guy with 2 grand slams square to bunt. But
look at a bunt here in the 4th inning of a 2-0 game.
It's just so important for him to understand that his outlook, his approach at the plate is going to have to change. And that's when hitting gets hard, when you have to be disciplined, but you also have to attack pitches that are misses early in counts.
Jordan Marks with a filthy slider for strike 2. That 3-pitch mix for Marks projects him out as a top 10 round pick. That's nice to see in this conference with Cam Cowan as a great draft pick. Obviously what Miller from Gardner-Webb did last week with 13 strikeouts. There are some top-end arms that are very good.
There are, and that's usually the part of the Big South Conference that lacks just a little bit. These guys can always hit, they can always field, but when you start to get those top-level arms in the conference, you're right, there's a different feel to it when you're facing possibly a big league arm up there in Marks. And it's a guy that doesn't labor overly hard, is in the mid-90s, great 3-pitch mix with command. It's no surprise to hear that he's getting considered a top 10 pick.
Matt Christian goes down on strikes for out number 1. Think about R.J. Pettit for Charleston Southern. Throws 96 from the right side, played in the Cape Cod League. That's half the league that has an ace that can really do some damage.
It is. It's great to see because it changes the feel. And when guys know that a Friday night guy's going to be coming in, or a bullpen arm's going to be coming in that's legit, it changes the feel of a baseball game, and it's a ton of fun being here and being able to watch it.
Great to have you guys with us on ESPN Plus. Game 1 of this 3-game set. Let's not bury the lead. Here's the preseason player of the year in Colin Wolfe. May not have the draft accolades, but A guy who can really get it done on the defensive end. Still waiting for his bat to unlock at 262.
And I think that says a ton about Wolf, is that it hasn't been going well. He's still hitting 262 because he is so competitive. He's a guy that finds a way, and that's the mark of a good hitter because, you know, he's gotten off to a sluggish start. He's looked uncomfortable in the box. Doesn't look like he's seeing the ball overly well, but he's a guy that finds a way to get on base. He'll find a way into a blooper, and for young hitters out there, that's important for you to understand. Those 1-for-4s and 1-for-5 days those are crucial at bats for you.
Colin Wolf out in front, 0-2. Think about this series this weekend. Jordan Marks, Cam Cowan, Jonathan Beamer, Alex Garbrick. That's 4 of the top 7 draft prospects in this league, all possibly pitching here in the next 2 days.
It's going to be fun. It's already starting out fun. There's a ton of noise and a ton of energy, and you know, Chassie's competing in his own right as well. And you know, I know that he probably felt a little bit of extra nerves, a little bit of extra oomph behind his performance today.
How do you spell oomph, by the way? Is it like a U-M?
No, I think it's like an O-O-M.
Like a P-H?
P-H, yeah.
Scientific. You remember those chemical equation? Oh, gosh, what's it even called? The pH scales.
I'm probably not your guy on this one. Maybe phone a friend or
Rest in peace, Alex Trebek. I need your help here. Can you give me a trivia question I can answer correctly? One trivia question I do know, Colin Wolf is the 3rd ever Camel player to be named preseason player of the year in the conference.
Do you know the other 2?
Give me a second here. There's a slider for strike 3. Matt Barefoot was one of them. Were you the other?
Could have been.
So there's the strikeout. Yes, you were the 3rd player. I don't want to mention your name too early on in that one. You ended all conference, though. You weren't the player of the year, though, correct?
I was player of the year in 2015.
Oh, as the postseason as well?
Not the postseason, just the regular season.
Okay.
No postseason accolades for me. We'll leave those.
No, that year in 15, you guys went 1-2 in the tournament.
Not our best.
Runner off at Packard. Good pitch to throw on. And catcher missed his target there, and Devin Buckner. I think a better throw, and they might have had Packard.
Possibly. Packard's not necessarily your typical burner or base stealer, but
first steal of the year.
Great job. You see him working. That bag was taken off of Jordan Marks. That's a great job of him studying up in the dugout, being ready when he gets on first, and really executing his game plan. He got a fantastic jump.
This pitching staff of Garbick, Ferrer, and Marks, they have been brilliant. Now trying to slow down the Campbell bats here in the 4th inning. Grant Harris takes ball 2. So the pitch out essentially there for Marks does put you in a spot because now you're down 2-0. I know Harris isn't a huge power threat, but the last thing you want to do is put 2 on in this inning.
Yeah, but you also have a base open. You don't want to go over competing or over trying to force situations that aren't there. Something like that can happen with Harris ripping that foul ball down the first base line and what possibly could have left the park if it was fair. So don't overreach, don't overextend yourself. You're throwing a great ball game. You've got 2 outs. Understand the situation, and if he gets on, so be it. It's not going to help your walk numbers that are so gaudy. But
how about this number for you? Campbell is 1 for 10 with runners on the bases today. So many chances in these first 4 innings. Marks is walking the tightrope. There's strike 2.
And that's good pitching. Friday night guys, the difference between Friday night guys and Saturday and Sunday guys is those guys really have their best stuff with runners in scoring position. In big moments, they find a way to get the double play ball. They find a way to get the strikeout. I don't know if there's a science to it or not, but that's the big difference you're going to see between a Friday guy and a typical weekend arm.
Marks on 2-2. How about this escape of a jam? 3 straight strikeouts for the upstate ace. Spartans are rolling thanks to the pitching. Get a look at Waldy Arias and the Camels here in the 5th inning. Good pitchers duel in game 1 of this series. The top 2 pitching teams, the top 2 hitting teams, you guessed it, the top 2 fielding teams in the Big South battling it out this weekend. And Chase Matheny, 8-9-1 in the upstate lineup, getting set to roll. Ryan Chassie has settled into the middle innings, now at 55 pitches, and given his team a chance to win.
He's done a great job. Got himself into a little bit of trouble early, but was able to work through it, keep the lead small. Anytime you're a starting pitcher, 3 or less is going to leave you in a pretty good spot. And right here in the 5th inning, if he's able to keep working, he should find himself in a pretty good position.
This matchup is dynamic for many reasons, but it also features 2 teams that are some of the favorites in this league. And we mentioned it to both coaches. Do you put stock into it early in the year? And they both downplayed it. Like, of course they should. But you got to think there's something clicking when 2 good teams come together.
You're exactly right, and both of these coaches are going to give you the same answer, that this game's no bigger than the next. As Chassie, big strikeout there on the inside corner, but they both know how important it is because they're going to use this to hype their teams up one way or the other down the stretch. It's going to be, remember, we've already beaten these guys. Let's go out and take care of business. Or, hey, we let a couple get away against these guys. They're not better than us. We weren't playing our best ball. So don't be so fooled to believe a coach's commentary
speak
too
is
much.
An expression in the dictionary. I mean, you look up coach speak and you have the cliche answers. But what I did like hearing from both Mike McGuire and Justin Hare is they valued how important the series was. It's important, but they also know they got to play well too.
And I think a lot of what they try to do is not ever let their players believe the hype. Last thing you want is your players starting to think, one team's really good or we're really good, we can't be beat. It's all about working your way up. It's all about the climb, the marathon, and progressing every day.
Hennessy the other way. This is smacked nicely and down, rolling past Packard. Jack Hennessy wants 2. Shears for a double. 1 out in the inning.
And a good job there by Hennessy getting another pitch up in the zone from Chassie. That's where he's been dinged up tonight. Hits it down that left field line and was essentially looking for 2 straight out of the box as he's able to get in there without much of a threat at all.
3rd double of the year for Jack Hennessy on the all-name team in the Big South, maybe the country. That's a fantastic baseball
It's
name.
a great name.
I think Mike Fox, the former coach of North Carolina, has a good baseball name. Anytime you can put an animal in there, I think it definitely adds up. Colin Wolfe, that's got mystery to it. Be a heck of an NC State name, just given their logo and mascot.
I think it's cool when you can call him like Wolfman. It kind of lends itself to a cool nickname. I never had one. My name's, I guess, too basic for a nickname, but the Wolfman I think is cool.
Man at the plate here, Jason Matthews. No nickname needed, just hitting the ball well. Great shortstop for the Spartans. And coming off a triple and a run in his first at-bat, looks to add on to this lead. So Ryan Chassie, he's going to give you every movement and shake and spasmic response and things. And how does that counter with the speed of Hennessy trying to get in his head a little bit?
They're going to play a little cat and mouse game and try to really outgame one another, try to fool the other one, and it's going to go on throughout the night because Chassie does have so much movement.
That comebacker kicks off his foot, and a wicked spin for the man down under, Jason Matthews out of New Zealand with a base hit.
They tell you good things happen when you put the ball in play, and it looks like that ball rolls right back up the pitcher's mound, and you could tell Chassie was not in a comfortable fielding position, not able to get a glove on it.
They say the water spins the opposite direction out of the toilet. I do wonder if the ball spun the opposite direction there to Chassie.
It could have. It definitely could have.
There's no science to back that up. That it's just a pure observation and a slight bit of humor.
Anytime you miss hit a baseball, funny things happen, and right there, he was definitely. I know he's fielded 1,000 of those balls in practice, but none with spin quite like that, and you could tell it made him a bit uncomfortable.
19th hit of the year for Matthews in just 11 games, really producing. As here's Julian Rip. So Rip's nickname has to be Ripley's Believe It or Not, correct? For the speed, the athleticism, it's got to mix in somewhere there.
So I'm a Yellowstone, the show. I'm a Yellowstone fan, and you got Rip in Yellowstone. So I would just go by Rip. I think that's pretty cool. That might be all-name team for me because
or Riptide.
Riptide's cool.
The clothing brand company.
That's West Coast of you.
Well, we are from California, so we provide that perspective. Julian Rip is not. He's out of the Netherlands, looking to bunt with a man at third. I like that idea with ball one. One thing with Mike McGuire's club, they're going to be scrappy scoring runs. 2 runs on 5 hits, looking to bunt here in this 5th inning, taking nothing for granted.
Well, I love the idea to bunt, and we've seen Chassis be able to get down in the zone the last few innings, but he's a ground ball pitcher. He's a double play pitcher, so the last thing you want here is for Rip to hit into a double play. You wash the inning out, you get nothing. So a bunt essentially takes that out of play, and we've seen a couple squeeze plays, safety squeeze plays from Campbell so far this year, so I wouldn't be surprised as far as how hard it has been to score tonight to see them try to push a guy across.
This upstate team taking a page out of the Louisville Cardinal, the best stolen base club in the country. Now it's upstate putting pressure on the bases here in this 5th inning. Good 3-quarter move to first. I sort of feel like this speed of the game and this style actually plays to Chassis' rhythm a little bit. He's never been a stand on the mound, sit there for 30 seconds and pitch it. How as a pitcher does that play off what he's trying to do?
Well, he's actually dictating the rhythm. So everything he's done has been under his control. He can pick fast, he can pitch fast. All things that he's going to try to.
Oh, as he hits Julian Rip to load the bases.
And that's actually a good outcome for Chassis. Not the worst thing there. They tell you as a pitcher, anytime you're getting squeezed on, if you don't have a breaking ball grip, go ahead and drill him. Live to fight another day. And most of the time those are later innings, but we're here in the middle. It's been tough to score.
Because to your point, you're saying the run probably scores from third if anything gets put down or if the ball gets away.
Correct, yeah. And right there, I don't know that Chassis was necessarily trying to hit anybody, but it is commonly known throughout baseball that it's not the worst outcome to hit a batter that is trying to bunt.
Here comes USC Upstate loading the bases in this inning. A double, a single, and a hit by pitch, setting the stage for Devin Buckner. In the major leagues, that would actually be considered a balk this year.
Right, with the rule change.
Baseball. Yeah, that's a new initiative in the MLB. You see some of the new minor league rules they implemented at different levels of the tiers?
I don't know how much.
I know, like, so in Double-A, defensive positioning is a huge emphasis.
Right.
At the Single-A level, it's the amount of pickoff attempts you can do in an at-bat.
And tell me if I read this correctly, that you can only pick off twice.
In one batter, yep.
And so what happens if you
and then the third time if you pick off, if you're unsuccessful, it's a balk. Which to me, then I'm going to get the biggest lead I can and just dare the pitcher to throw it over.
Right.
And try to get myself back to first. As here's Babin out to the hill.
I don't know that I like that rule. I enjoy kind of the little pieces of baseball, and you can also fool a pitcher and take a huge lead off of first base, and essentially when you do that, it's called a one-way lead. You're only going one direction, that's back. So you can set a pitcher up there to fail, and I don't know, I think anytime you're limiting a pitcher, it's already something that's hard enough. And well, I'll be interested to see how those rules play out.
Tyler Robinson has made his decision. Looks like a call to the bullpen as Ryan Chassie's night is done. Big spot in the 5th, and the Campbell ace heads to the dugout. We'll take a timeout as well here on ESPN Plus. Jack Yusko getting the call out of the bullpen here in a tight spot in the 5th inning. The senior right-hander from right down the road in downtown Raleigh, trying to keep this a 2-run ball game. He's been a ground ball pitcher in his career, and this is his spot right here with 1 out.
This is his job. The one job he has as a side armor is bad situations and big moments, and that's what we've got right here with the bases loaded and 1 out. So it's going to be up to Yusko. He's going to pitch for a ground ball double play, and that's what that sidearm creates. He's going to try to sink it back in and get a rollover.
On the 1-0 pitch, Buckner slaps one right. Harris the catch. Hennessy tagging to the plate and is in there safely. Jack Hennessy makes it 3-0 on the sac fly from Buckner.
And a great job right there of Buckner, understanding what Yusko's trying to do, gets the job done early, gets the hands out front, and creates a fly ball out to right field to Harris.
So you're saying that out is almost intentional, avoiding the ground ball, putting it in play, and letting his speed come in to score.
That's exactly right. You control the outcome early, especially how hard it's been to score. Both teams understand, 3 could very well get this game done. And, so create it early. The last thing you want is a 2-strike count against a guy trying to sink it on your hands or possibly pop an outside corner on you that is a double play waiting to happen.
We mentioned some of the MLB rule changes. How about this in low A? In one division of low A, a 20-second pitch clock. The second you step on the rubber, you get 20 seconds to deliver.
I like the idea, if that makes sense. So I like where their head's at on it. I don't know if I agree with the rule.
What's neat, too, it's experimented at different levels and even different divisions of low A. So, for example, in the low A West division, 15-second pitch clock. In the low A East division, automatic balls and strikes that get parlayed into the umpire.
And how do you feel about that? Because I'm not sure about the
robotic strike zones are tough. I do like to see the human element. As much as coaches would hate it, I think it adds a little bit of a neat aspect to the game as it's 2-0 here at Raybon.
I would have to agree. I love the unpredictability. I love that pitchers can lose strikes based on poor performance. If they're not commanding the strike zone, they're not going to get those calls. And I like the fact that those little elements are still in baseball.
I guess you could put an algorithm in for success rate and adding to strikes. Here's a hit by pitch to load the bases again. That's 2 hit by pitches in the inning between Yusko and Chassis.
I'm sure they could manipulate it somehow, but
I do wonder though now in this game, 3-0, the bases are loaded. This might be the ball game right here in this at bat.
You're very well, could be exactly right. One hit with the way Marks is throwing could put this thing essentially out of reach here in the 5th. It's already feeling a little bit that way just because Campbell hasn't been able to get much going. And yeah, you're exactly right. With Marks throwing the way he is, this is going to be a big hitter here for Yusko.
Jack Gallagher has been a big hitter for this team. 18 RBI. And how about this with the bases loaded? He's hitting .667. 4 hits and 6 at-bats.
And that's what guys in the middle of the lineup are supposed to do. They're going to have runners in scoring position a lot of their at-bats, and it's your job to hit sac flies, and it should be easier to hit with 2 strikes. That's why you're there. That's your only job, is to bring in RBIs. He's done a great job of that.
So what did Gallagher do his last time with the bases loaded? A grand slam against Clemson that put that game out of reach. This time he could put game 1 of this series out of reach. Already a run in for Upstate here in the 5th. Now the 2-0 from Yusko. Critical strike 1. Jack Yusko, the do-it-all reliever, 2.9 ERA in his career. And just over 55 games of outings between the bullpen as a midweek outing. Here he is in the biggest spot of this game. Delivers, strike 2.
And that's the pitch right there I think is earned. He stomps the pitch before that right on the inside corner for sure, no doubt strike every time. That one's a hair inside of that and maybe a little bit higher. That's a pitch that's earned by the pitch before it.
Can Yusko clean up the mess that Ryan Chassis left him here in the 5th? Might stay in play here as Babin on the move. Great defensive play from the 4th-year catcher, helping Campbell escape the jam here in the 5th. Turlington. Let's get it started in here. Good ball game in the bottom of the 5th inning. USC Upstate trying to prove itself as one of the best teams in this Big South Conference. Off to a 10-0 start and a big lead in this 5th inning. Against the Campbell team, it's the 2-time champions. They've had the accolades. They've climbed the mountain, if you will, and Upstate now in a position that Campbell was in probably 3 to 4 years ago.
Upstate's look good. They've competed in all aspects of the game, but I've been really impressed with their offensive approach, just the way they've adapted throughout the game. They've found ways to score runs. Friday nights are never easy to score. They found out a way to scratch across 3 in 3 separate innings, so they've been relentless. They've been continuously attacking, and they've looked really good so far. They've played up to the hype.
The way this game started, it could have been an 8-7 type of game. Both teams hitting the ball hard. A lot of balls put in play, but nothing to show for it. Now it's 3-0 as Bryce Arnold begins our bottom of the 5th. Right after the first pitch, he goes. 3rd hit of the night for Campbell.
And that's the approach I think Campbell's going to have to go with against Jordan Marks. We talk about the fastball to the outer half to start majority of hitters, and right there, great job of Arnold understanding what's coming, jumps all over the fastball and rips a shot into left field.
The 4th hit of Bryce Arnold's career. And that was an interesting insertion in this lineup at the DH role. Players like Zach Williams trying to find his footing, battling through an injury. There's plenty of options for this versatile lineup, and Coach Hare leans on the freshman out of Canada.
Well, sometimes coaches just have a feeling. Sometimes, that opportunity's, been earned over the course of a couple days of practice, a couple months of work. In this case, possibly 12 months of work or more. So these guys are going to keep working, and we've seen a ton of different players get in the lineup for Campbell. We've talked about them still searching for an identity, and Arnold's in here making a case for himself.
5 players out of the 10 starters have played every game. The rest has been a complete mix-up and switcheroo and trying to find the right options, and that's the versatility that Justin Hare both likes, and he also worries about just a bit, trying to find the right lineup, because you do have that core 5 or 6 players, but then the rest of the lineup has been a hodgepodge of players.
It's tough. It's tough on a coach. It's always great to have versatility and depth, but you never want to not have a feel for what you're looking to get into, and so far we've seen the big bopper lineup with all the home run hitters, but it's lacked a little bit on defense. And
Arnold is off. Babin puts it in a great spot. Now the race to first, and what a defensive play by Cameron McIntosh.
And a fantastic play it was. That's showing off a ton of range, almost going into shallow right field, making the sliding grab, and also good knowledge over there of Gallagher, knowing he has to get back to first, even though he was going for that ball really half the time. Good defensive play on the right side of the infield for Upstate.
There's a reason this USC Upstate club leads the Big South in fielding percentage and ranks 20th in the country. They just do everything well. I haven't found a flaw yet in this team.
You're right, and that's been their formula, is be pretty good at everything, and that's exactly what they've done. They hit the baseball hard. They make the routine plays, occasionally the exceptional. We've seen a couple really nice plays on defense, and anytime you have a guy like Jordan Marks running out there, you got to feel pretty solid about the 3 offensive runs you have on the board getting you the distance.
Back to the top of the order, and Waldy Arias, who started this game with a single. There has not been much from Campbell since, just 3 hits. As that ball hits him. That is Waldy Arias' specialty, hit by pitch to extend this inning.
He knows all about how to get hit, how to roll into that baseball, but really the first sign of frustration we've seen from Jordan Marks tonight, he was a little bit upset with that call, thought Arias may have leaned into that pitch.
I can see what he's saying.
I understand it, but if you're Campbell, you've been trying to expose him for 5 innings now, a bunch of outs, haven't been able to do it. It could be a hit by pitch. It could be what they've been looking for.
7th time Arias has been hit by a pitch this year. Here's Connor Denning, who's been doing everything well. First in runs and total bases here in the Big South. Ooh, Arnold nearly got caught sleeping there at second.
And we've seen that move from Marks a couple times. It's like he goes up, goes down. It's almost a pause and spin, but we've seen Campbell have a little bit of a hiccup with it at second base.
And on that pause, as long as he doesn't lean forward, it's a clean play and no balk.
Which I would, if you're nitpicking it at MLB rules, I'm not a huge fan of the pause. but it's working. It's keeping Campbell off balance at second base without a doubt.
There are some conversations at the big league level about eliminating the three-quarter pick for left-handers. It has to be a full intention to first. It can't be that half lean, that 75-degree angle to first base.
And that's going to be a tricky one because you're eliminating a left-hander's advantage. I think that's part of the aspect that they bring to the game is a lot of the times, especially at a younger age, left-handers control the running game
and
so
I mean
much better.
45 degrees, not 75.
Right.
That'd be a wide angle to the plate. Not a math major, journalism guy myself. What was your degree in, Cole?
Communication.
Oh, wow, we're in the same field. I never would have thought. The 0-1 to Denning, just a bit outside. So Upstate had a huge spot in the top of the fifth. Bases loaded, and Ty Babin makes a nice defensive play. Now it's Campbell in the bottom of the fifth in a crucial spot.
And if it's going to be true to Campbell form, we would see a home run right here. That's how they've scored their runs. It hasn't been a bunch of singles and manufactured runs for the most part. They've scored via doubles and long balls.
11 home runs, 25 dingers. Those are both best in the Big South. Exactly to your point. And who's been doing it? Someone like Connor Denning in this lineup. Already has 4 home runs and 4 doubles.
And almost had one early. Big fly ball out to deep center field. And
he tested Jack Hennessy out there, who might have needed the glass of that after a long run to track that ball at the wall. Please be responsible, of course. The 1-1 is swung out and missed.
That's a big pitch there from Marks. We've seen him go to that changeup against Packard and now going back to it against Denning. That's a really big pitch. It shows a lot of confidence because it is his third best pitch, and to have the control that he has over it, especially only using it against left-handed hitters, it's a big weapon for him.
Jordan Marks settling in at 62 pitches at the moment. He's navigated a difficult Campbell lineup along with Willock State that's given teams trouble all year long here in 2021. Now can Marks finagle his way out of trouble? Two and two to Connor Denning, with Zach Neto in the heart of this lineup coming up next. Denning also gets better with men on the bases, a .391 clip in these spots. Tonight, just 1 for 2, but sitting with Arnold at second, Arias at first, plenty of speed to work with. Did he go? Yes, he did. Brian Miller rings him up for out 2.
And that's that tricky call in the check swing. I'm not sure regardless. Great pitch there by Jordan Marks. Buries, gets on top of that breaking ball, buries it down and in on Denning. That's a fantastic pitch.
You also don't see too many times a home plate umpire immediately make that call. But Miller certainly saw what he wanted to see, makes the call. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
No, but it's a good point because you saw Coach Hare frustrated down in the third base box, and I think most coaches are okay with it if it's appealed. That's what those guys are there for. And I think there's always going to be some frustration because it's
and ideally with a lefty, you go to that umpire at second base just to get the full body angle. As Arnold gets kept tabs on at second base. Give credit to Upstate tonight. They have stranded a bunch of runners on base. Campbell is 1 for 13 with men on the bases.
We've seen Campbell struggle with runners in scoring position in a bunch of games, but kind of their calling card is a lot of teams haven't been able to survive 9 innings with them, meaning at some point they will hit a home run or a double with runners on and score 2, 3, 4 runs in a hurry. So they are going to miss opportunities, but they're also extremely dangerous at any point in the 9-inning game. And unfortunately for them, you can't always count on that, but from Upstate's standpoint, they need to understand that those weapons are still in that lineup as well.
Jordan Marks trying to throw 5 scoreless in his second Big South start. He gave up 6 runs last week at Radford. It was not an ideal outing for the right-hander who settled in his team, gave him some run support, and Upstate came back to win 7-6. Working on a 1-1 here to Zach Neto. Gives up a fly ball. long run for Rip, who has room, but just can't track it down in that deep corner.
I will say, as an outfielder in this park, you're very well aware of where the brick walls are. And it's an uncomfortable feeling anytime you're running at one.
And there's not much padding between. It's just straight brick coming at you. Talk about a punch from Muhammad Ali in the face. I think brick wall at full speed is about the same.
Yeah, you're not going to win that battle too often as an outfielder.
Instead, the at-bat continues for Neto, who tripled in his last game, also pitched and earned the win in that game. An aspect that Justin Hare said reminded him of a scene from a movie, just to have that much creativity and flavor to mix him into the lineup. As Neto fouls it out of play.
Well, I believe there was a National League coach reference in there as well, because that's what they have to do essentially at that point when you're moving that many guys in and out. You're doing double switches, and it's a great job by Coach Hare of managing a two-way player because it can be tough. But we've talked a ton about Neto, and really his arm strength, it shows at second base as well on double plays. He's a guy that can really whip it over there. A great arm strength, was on the mound, 90, 91 miles an hour.
Justin Hare called Zach Neto as Wendy Peppercorn from the Sandlot. So much versatility. Runners are off on 1 and 2. This is smacked into the gap. And look who's there, the Rip Man to make the catch. USC Upstate avoiding trouble here in the 5th.
There's not a secret to what actually happens behind the scenes at a bank. Here at First Citizens, we're trying to educate the client in each step of what's actually going to happen and actually have them make the educated decision around what steps and what options they utilize. We want to become that trusted advisor that actually guides them down that road, helping you reach your goals. That's Forever First.
Pepsi Wild Cherry.
Tired of cooking at home? Change it up without getting up. Just order Jersey Mike's through our app for no contact delivery or no contact at the door pickup. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
The doctor said I had prostate cancer. I needed to do something else. Can I go to proton therapy? Hampton University Proton Therapy Institute. He said, yeah, you can do it, man. So breathe. When I went for the treatments, there were no side effects. Whatever you could do before, you could do it after. Thank you, Jesus. I'm so glad I can go down there. But I tell you right now, I wanted to let those people know that I really appreciate it. And HU is his spot. This is Cindy. When you call her up, she's not so nice on the phone. This is Jen. This is Ashley.
Getting a look at the home cursive script here at Jim Perry Stadium. The Fighting Camels at 7-4 on the year, welcoming USC Upstate off to a 10-0 start. It's their best start in modern Division I history. The Spartans, who joined the Atlantic Sun back in 2007, 2008, maybe their best start, not only in conference, but as a program at the Division I level. It sits on the shoulders of Cameron McIntosh, who had a home run in his first at-bat. I also realized I said the word soldier and not shoulder, one of those tongue twisters that gets me. I did go to speech therapy as a kid, believe it or not, for a couple years. Got to enunciate those key letters, always important.
I had trouble with the R's.
So Spanish was not your second language for sure.
No, I was not much of a Spanish speaker. Had a little trouble earlier this week with Charleston, but we worked through it.
That was a Campbell midweek win. 3-2 after USC Upstate flat out dominated the Cougars 2 weekends ago. Part of this 10-0 start for a team that now has a strength of schedule in the top 40 in the country. That's going to be the challenge for these clubs too, in Campbell and USC Upstate. With 40 conference games, both of these teams are already more than halfway through their non-conference schedule.
It's just so different, and we're going to see midweek conference games and a ton of them, and it's, there's nothing that the players can do, that the coaches can do. They can only play the cards they're dealt, and right there, Jack Yusko giving up, a leadoff walk isn't going to get Campbell any closer to where they're trying to go. So he's had a ton of arm side misses, hasn't looked exceptionally comfortable out there. He's a guy that's typically going to be in the strike zone a ton, and just hadn't looked the part yet tonight.
USCO may be Campbell's best high leverage reliever. And you're right, he hasn't been at the high peak form we're used to seeing from the fifth-year senior as he now faces Adam Groby. There's strike one.
And he's going to get the strike call on that slider there, but not a good slider for USCO there. That's him not being able to get on top of the baseball. I guess he's throwing sidearm, so get around the baseball. The ball just essentially spins and doesn't have a lot of break to it. It's just not typical for his stuff.
Grobe from Wabash Valley Community College, part of a JUCO-heavy roster for Coach Mike McGuire. And that's how he's trying to build this team from the ground up. You think about the success of both these programs, Campbell and USC Upstate, heavy in the junior college transfers, heavy in the international / non-local kids, and trying to build that tradition quickly.
I think it's a great way to go about it because junior college kids are so much more predictable. There's a lot more of them that aren't quite as highly recruited. A lot of them have been overlooked. That's why they're in JUCO or possibly coming off injury. So there's a ton of guys out there throughout the country that are playing junior college baseball at an exceptionally high level and would love to come to either of these programs and continue to build what they've started.
USCO now plunks a batter in Grobe, and that's 2 on with nobody out. To your point, D1Baseball.com ranks their top recruiting classes of any conference, and around the country. You would have guessed it. The top 3 teams in the league, Winthrop, Upstate, and Campbell, the top 3 recruiting classes as well.
Coaches know that's arguably one of the biggest parts of their job is getting talent in the door. You can't win if you don't have the right players. You can't win if you don't have the right culture.
A tough outing for Jack Yusko might be ending here soon as the pitching coach Tyler Robinson takes out Yusko. We have the pitching change here in the 6th. When we come back, let's see who Campbell goes to here in the bullpen. Campbell leans on Logan Heinzman here in the top of the 6th inning. The Hamilton, Ohio product who has pitched in 4 games this year, just over 10 innings of work, an ERA of 4.2. Both him and Jack Yusko are 2 of the more highly sought after arms in this bullpen, and now trying to combine to get through this 6th inning.
Well, I like the call to get Yusko out of there. Clearly didn't have his best stuff. He's going to be a factor in tomorrow's game, I would assume, especially in tough situations. Heinzman, interesting situation for him to come in. He is the Campbell long reliever, guy you're going to see essentially be a secondary starter if things don't get off on the right foot. But that shows how much belief Coach Hare has here in the top of the 6th. If he's in there, Coach Hare still believes there's a chance they can strike and get back in this ballgame.
Notice Chase Matheny there looking to bunt with nobody out. And Upstate knows, given how hard it's been to score runs in this game, that fourth run be huge.
It's huge, and really it was essentially pretty far apart when it was 2-0. They scratched across another one, and it felt like it was even further. And they're a team that understands how to win, and you win by moving guys over and continuing to stretch leads out. And really,
there's your bunt from Matheny. That's foul. Chase Matheny trying to do the little things for this program to put this team over the top. Matheny is a player with a great defensive skill set, excellent arm, according to Coach Mike McGuire. Now can he get it done at the plate? Here's the bunt. And this is what I love about baseball. Campbell knows what's coming defensively. Upstate knows a pitch is going to be high and inside, and the job has to get done.
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's awesome that they have signs even when everybody in the ballpark knows what's going to happen.
Here it is. Heinzman with nobody out, trying to elude the bunt attempt. Matheny pops it up. Job well done.
And Evan, I got to give credit where it's due. You called the high inside fastball as well. Beautiful execution by Heinzman. Creates the elevated bunt. They're able to haul it in for an out.
Did you feel like there Matheny didn't need to push bunt it and more just kind of receive it and let it land where it lies?
Well, batters tend to get themselves in trouble when you try to go get a bunt. It's more so you set your bat, you set your angle, and you let the pitch come to you. Right there, he tried to go get it. Like you said, it was almost like a stab attempt. And anytime you have that kind of movement, it creates bad things. And right there, that's what led to the elevation.
Reminds me of the sport of curling. You have to let it flow down the rink. You don't have to force it. Just a nice little brush, and you extend it to your pin.
You're right, though. It's a less is more thing. And if you get out of your own way half the time, you'll end up pretty successful. But it's when you try to take it to the game or over control something right there is when you get yourself in trouble.
Reminds me of broadcasting in so many ways. The less you think, the better it turns out most of the time. Appreciate you guys sticking with us here in the 6th inning. USC Upstate scored a run in the 5th to jump out 3-0.
And almost a slash there at the plate.
Yeah, the creativity of Jack Hennessy has been great in center field defensively. He doubled on an opposite field slapper in the 5th inning.
I believe we also saw a bunt from him early. Great wheels, great speed, definitely a threat.
Jack Hennessy over 100 starts the last 2 years. And he works the count in his favor. One of the rare South Carolina kids on this roster for USC Upstate, a team with 47 on its total roster. The depth of these clubs in the college baseball level is just incredible.
And I think you'll start to see if they continue this winning tradition and continue to compete. I think it's something where you'll see a lot more South Carolina kids on the roster because kids are growing up seeing how successful they are, and everybody wants to be a part of that. Same way with Campbell building their program. They're a year or two possibly ahead, but you see more North Carolina kids on their roster and kids around here saying, hey, Coach, I want to go to Campbell. Do you know anybody over there? So it's going to be good, and I've loved what I've seen from Upstate so far.
That's ball 4, a close pitch from Heinzman, loading the bases. That was a huge selling point for Mike McGuire taking this job. He said he wanted a good program from the South. He coached at Lewisburg for over a decade. Mike met his wife. They got engaged here in the Carolinas, and he said he wanted a program that was affordable, a local school, and they're showing some big success here in 2021.
They are. If they're winning games, they're affordable, you provide a quality education. Now you have the makings to go get that recruit that you want to bring in and understand that he's going to have a possibility of going there.
Let's see what Jason Matthews can do at the top of this lineup. You mentioned bringing kids to the program, maybe no longer of a trip than recruiting Jason Matthews. Out of Auckland, New Zealand, went to Southeastern Community College across in Tennessee. And ever since he stepped in the box this year, nothing but hits. 6 doubles, 11 RBI, and that's for the leadoff man. Heinzman wants to silence those numbers. An underrated part of that Ty Babin move behind the plate for Campbell, as well as with the speed on these bases and the unpredictability of Heinzman's breaking ball. You do want someone like Babin back there.
And that's a large part why he's in the game. He has struggled offensively, but he brings so much in leadership and catching ability behind the plate.
The bloop for Matthews falls in for a hit. 90 feet at a time, the Spartans add on to the lead.
And a good job there of Matthews staying through the baseball, finds a way to fight his hands up to the front, really gets sawed off and beat by a Logan Heinzman fastball, but good things happen when you're winning ball games. And when you're 10-0, hits like that are dropping, they continue to drop. Nobody's quite sure why it works that way, but they have a ton of momentum and they continue to build on it, and they find themselves in another good situation here with Julian Ripp coming to the plate, bases loaded. They're continuing to apply pressure on Campbell.
A run in the first, second, now 5th and 6th. Good stop by Babin, keeping this a 4-run game. That success for Matthews is nothing new. How about this start to the year? Hits in 10 of his last 11 and 8 multi-hit games.
He's dangerous, and you can just tell by his approach. He's a guy that knows what he's doing in the box. He executes his game plan and never looks too foolish. He's a guy that sees the baseball well and stays within his means at the plate.
Heinzman inherits a tough spot from CAMvsUSCU and pinpoints a strike. Between Chassis, Yusko, and Heinzman here in this now 5th and 6th innings, Upstate has strung together 2 hits, 4 hit-by pitches, and 2 walks. Not the way you'd expect for a lineup like this that's so prestigious, but they found ways to do it.
You're right. They've just found a way to be competitive. And you talk about how great both these pitching staffs are. You're right, not maybe the way we thought they would get it done. They're also very prolific. They hit 1 through 9, but tonight there's been some good pitching, and they've still found a way to get around it and create runs.
A critical juncture here in the 6th inning. Heinzman on 2-1, misses high and inside. Nowhere to put Julian Ripp, and the dangerous Devin Buckner is up next.
And I think this is going to be a big moment for Campbell. Right now, it's still attainable. You're a grand slam away. You're a couple, good swings, good at bats away from being right back in this thing. But you're also right on the knocking on the door here for disaster if you let much more in.
A very important 3-1 pitch is drilled out to center. Denning drifts in the gap. Denning makes the catch. Runners tag. Upstate adds to the lead on a sacrifice fly. Cashing in Adam Grove, making it 6-0. Actually, bad math. Making it 5-0. Feels like it's 6 the way this team's been hitting.
It does, and we talk about batting averages and how high these guys are hitting with runners in scoring position and how prolific of an offense they are. And right there, that's not going to boost your batting average. That's not necessarily a hit or a double, but that's a very productive at bat. He stays out of double play trouble, understands his job's to hit a fly ball to center field, and really a great job by Ripp right there, understanding a fly ball to center field does it, gets his man home on the sacrifice fly.
5 runs on 6 hits for the Spartans tonight. There's a hefty swing from Buckner. We have mentioned Campbell's woes with men in scoring position. Upstate has finally gotten some production in that department tonight. As they look to move to 11-0 on the season. Would be their best start in the modern D1 history of this program. One and one. Worth noting, entering tonight, only 6 undefeated teams left in the country. Arkansas, South Carolina, Oklahoma State, top 25 programs, and then USC Upstate right in that conversation.
Well, you got to think that they're knocking on the door of a ranking. They've beat some impressive opponents. If they get out of here beating Campbell, who's beat some good teams, they're going to be right in that conversation. I don't care who you're playing. If you go 10, 11, 12-0, you're a good ball club. It doesn't matter.
All that matters right now is trying to take game 1 of this series. Upstate has not played in this ballpark in quite some time. It's been all the way back in 2010 when these teams are part of the Atlantic Sun, nearly a decade plus later. It's been all Upstate in these late innings, a run in the 5th, 2 more in the 6th. Heinzman needing a punch out, misses outside. Even the hitters at the plate for Upstate tonight, not very strikeout prone, only 2 combined Ks for Chassis, Yusko, and Heinzman here.
No, and we've seen some good pitches right there. That's a slider from Logan Heinzman, and it's executed perfectly. That's exactly where he wants to put it, but you're right, just able to hold off, and a good take there by Buckner.
Runner is off on 2-2. Gets the strikeout call from Brian Miller. It's a 5-0 game as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Hey, Turlington, show us those 2 coaches talking to each other by third base. Perfect. Just let us know when we're live. This is kind of cool. If one of them leaves, just follow one of them and stay with one of them, Turlington. Yeah, stay with the Upstate coach. Stay with the Upstate coach. Bit of a discussion between innings. Head coach Mike McGuire and Justin Hare were talking with the home plate umpire between innings, something you don't typically see as they were going through some, I guess, having a quick conversation there between the half inning.
Well, one of them must not have liked what they were seeing, and chances are when one coach is getting after an umpire a little bit, the other one wants to know what's going on and get a piece of the action. So the stakes are high. We're getting later in this game. It's no surprise to see them chomping at the bit to get every advantage they can.
These 2 coaches know how important this series is. The first of 6 games between Campbell and Upstate on the year, and it's all Upstate so far. A 5-0 lead as Jordan Marks goes back to work against Spencer Packard in the heart of this Campbell lineup.
Leading off in the game is left fielder number 25, Spencer Packard.
Spencer Packard, maybe the hottest hitter in this league. First in batting average, doubles, and walks. Jordan Marks jamming him inside. Packard stands about as tall on that inside of the batter's box as anyone you ever see. You do wonder then how he gets his hands so quickly on those inside pitches, but he's made it work here with a 406 clip.
He does, and what's odd about it is typically you'll see a lot of pull-happy hitters stand close to get the ball closer to them.
He gets jammed on this pitch, inducing a ground ball to McIntosh.
But you're right, he can be exposed on inside fastball. When that ball's 3 inches off your front foot, it's tough to get around on, and right there it just gets tied up by a 91-mile-an-hour fastball in the inside corner.
Coaching staff at Campbell says Spencer Packard has MLB-type bat speed. Couldn't catch up to that pitch, and all of a sudden Jordan Marks has settled into this game. Gave up a hit in the first inning, has only given up 2 since.
He looks good. It's been a true 3-pitch mix, and you know, a lot of velocity from him. It is starting to drop a little bit here. Campbell should be able to get around on that fastball a little bit easier than possibly in the first innings. He was 94, 95 to start, and now we've seen him down around 92. And sometimes it's a mile an hour or two that makes a difference between being on time and flying out to the track.
How about these last 2 years for Marks? He has combined for what is now 60 strikeouts to just 4 walks in the last 2 years. Not a fluke by any means.
No, he's a great pitcher, and we knew what we were going to get coming in. We knew we were getting a great arm. We were going to get to watch Jordan Marks throw tonight. That's exciting in and of itself, but living up to that expectation, throwing in the mid-90s with 3-pitch mix, great command to both sides of the plate. He's really looked the part here this evening.
Matt Christian 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts tonight. Goes down. Oh, he holds up on the swing. It's 2-2.
And I don't think Christian went there, but he's going to have to make an adjustment. Every time he's come up, Marks has been throwing him sliders off the plate, and he's been exposed. He's wanted to chase that pitch.
The 6th-year senior trying to show off some patience here in his third at-bat. Gets enough piece to that to extend it.
And that's another pitch, essentially the same pitch.
But you're right, though. The approach of Marks has really started to pay off.
It has. And he right there, he's exposing Christian. He's going back to that breaking ball. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I'd love to see him go back to it here.
Not a fan of the word ain't.
Ain't.
Am not.
Ain't. It's okay. It depends on the situation.
Fastball ripped out of play at 93 miles an hour.
And you heard the grunt on that.
Yeah, a little extra juice there from Marks.
He wanted Christian, but he also knew if that ball came in at about 90 or 91, it might be making a pretty hot exit. So get a little juice behind it.
The old Rick Vaughn approach. Let's see what the 4th-year junior right-hander has in store here against the 6th-year, 24-year-old soon-to-be power hitter.
You got to think Christian. If you're Christian, you got to think sliders coming here.
There's your hit and the punch out at 94. Hardest pitch of this inning.
Well, he set him up for it, and I think he had me fooled as well because he went straight back to that high heat. And anytime you have a little bit of outside breaking ball in your mind, you have no chance of catching up. Beautiful execution on the high fastball for the strikeout.
Speaking of Rick Vaughn, that's the Terminator for old Jordan Marks, bringing the heat. 8 strikeouts against this Campbell offense. He now faces Colin Wolfe. So Marks is only at 83 pitches now in this game. What's the depth that he can bring deep into this night?
Well, I would assume he's maybe an inning or two away. If he's able to continue managing his outing, great. But what we're seeing here, we talk about grunting, we laugh, it's funny, he's throwing hard, but he's working hard. He's really grinding to throw hard at this point in the game. He's laboring a lot more than he was in the early innings, so you got to think his night's probably winding down in the next 25, 30 pitches or so.
Well, the way he's been throwing, I'll keep him in there all night. 1-2 to Colin Wolfe.
Not only is he a great arm, but right now he's just showcasing how competitive he is. It's fun to watch. It's contagious, and you can see his defense feeding off it. You hear the dugout. It's loud.
Got away from him that time on the breaking ball. I think the energy, too, is great. You see that. These pitchers don't want to overreact. You want to stay in the moment, but he knows this could be his last inning for Jordan Marks, and he's pitching like it.
He is. He knows that his night's winding down. He's done a beautiful job putting up all zeros on the board, trying to get another one here.
Colin Wolfe to 2-2, looking to extend the inning. It's a full count.
We're seeing a little bit of misses, a lot of effort, a lot of velocity. We'll see what he goes to here with the full count.
Remember, Jordan Marks just 1 walk this season. He has 30 strikeouts on the other side. This fly ball might stay in the park. Buckner runs out of space. It's incredible for someone who throws that hard with that much oomph, if you will, to only have 1 walk on the season.
It is. It's definitely impressive, but he's done a great job managing it. I think here, if you're Colin Wolfe, anytime you get somebody laboring, Marks is starting to jump off the mound, trying to throw extra hard. That's going to affect breaking ball a lot more than fastball. We've seen him miss up a lot with it. So if you're Wolfe here, after seeing him strike out Christian, I would be queuing in pretty hard on that fastball.
Here's the heat, and it's smacked out of play. And I mean tattooed out of play.
Well, it's a blessing and a curse to throw hard as a pitcher. You know, it's fun, looks great on the scoreboard, but it can also leave the yard or leave the bat in a hurry.
We have the pleasure of working with an All-American closer, Cole Hallam, on the broadcast side of Budrovich with you. What a battle here in this 6th inning. Marks makes the play. Now he's got it. And Jordan Marks is fired up. Upstate cruising thanks to its right-handed ace. Look at those mosquitoes getting a front and center view of a great ball game. 5-0 Upstate here in the 7th. What we've had so far is the Spartans scrappy at the plate. The club has started this year 10-0. Looking to pick up a signature win to open up this series. And it gets things started with Noah Raybon in the heart of this lineup for Upstate. By the way, how infectious is what Jordan Marks can bring to the table? What does that do for your offense when your pitcher is throwing like that?
Well, they at this point, I would be terribly surprised if Upstate didn't already have the win penciled in. They understand they're going to win. When their guy goes out there and he's got his stuff, they expect to win, and they've put themselves in a great situation here so far. But yeah, as an offense, you give Jordan Marks 5 runs, you feel pretty good about your job. That's your job on a Friday night, and pretty much hand it over to that guy in the bullpen, some of those back-end closer types that, hey, guys.
Keep an eye on 6'9" Kevin Davis, a great arm out of the pen for Upstate. What's unique, too, though, in a 5-0 game, remember, 2 games tomorrow, 18 innings, you don't have to throw the big guns for Upstate if you continue to hold this lead.
You're right, and you're not necessarily going to see a closer, but I think you could. I don't think it's outlandish to throw a closer in there and have them on essentially a pitch count of maybe 15. These guys they're ready to go. Their arms are warm. We're far enough into the season to where you can go out there, throw 10, 15 pitches. You'll be hot tomorrow for one of the two, but not both.
If you do throw the first game, there's no way you do 2 games in one day, correct?
Right. Yeah, so if you don't throw today, you might be able to bounce back. Depending on pitch count, that's still really a tricky situation when you're talking arm care.
How do you feel about that as a former player? If you were asked to pitch twice a day, of course any kid wants to do it, but how do you maintenance yourself to be able to pitch twice in a day?
You have to know your arm. You have to know how you're going to react to certain situations. I know when I played, I would DH the first game in a doubleheader, and I was hot in the bullpen, so I could throw first game and second game. And in the second game, I would start in left field and was also hot to go in to that game as well.
Talk about the whole Little League approach there.
Yeah, it was fun, man.
As Raybon works the count to 3-2.
But you're also talking to a guy who had 3 elbow surgeries, so maybe not advised. But as a player, yeah, you're telling coach, yes, sir, I'm good to go.
There's that temptation, right? Especially in a big series. You've just won game 1 if you're Upstate tonight. You got to manage that tomorrow in a doubleheader.
And it goes to being a teammate as well because, I mean, is it fair? Maybe not. But I don't want anybody on my team that doesn't want the baseball. You want guys that want to go out there, they want to compete, do or die. They're going to be in it for the long haul. And I think, we've seen a ton of competitive people on both sides. So I bet every one of them's chomping at the bit to get in this game. It's a great one here on Friday night.
Logan Heintzman induces another foul ball. This is a good battle to start this inning. Already 8 pitches. Upstate has struck early, and they've struck often tonight. Runs in the first 2 innings and some insurance here late. As Heintzman cannot retire, a tough hitter at the plate, and Noah Raybon.
Well, we've seen really all 3 pitchers that have thrown for Campbell have not had their best stuff, especially, Chassie did settle in there for a period but was not sharp early. Heintzman is just not making the pitches. He should be having strikeouts and outs, but he's not able to execute the way he wants.
There's your strikeout. Babin's got to hang on to it, so there's the throwdown for the out as Heintzman secures his 3rd strikeout in relief.
And a better pitch there. We've seen Campbell back up a ton of breaking balls. They've gotten flat and elevated with fastball at times. If they're able to get on top, it creates a whole different matchup, and if they are sharp tomorrow, expect a completely different outcome.
First baseman number 21, Gallagher.
Between Heintzman and USCU, 2 high leverage arms for Campbell here in relief. This ground ball will stay foul off the bat of Gallagher.
Touching on that point, though, how high leverage these guys are. If you're Upstate, you have to almost feel like it is a small victory within a game, but to get exposure to both of these guys, Heintzman is done. There's no way he throws tomorrow with his pitch count.
Absolutely.
So if you're Upstate, that's a small victory already. Let alone if you get a win, you're sitting in a very good spot tomorrow morning when you wake up.
Ooh, that ball, tight one off the helmet of Gallagher, who's on for the first time tonight, which has now allowed Upstate to have every player in this lineup reach base in this ballgame.
It's not surprising.
Has it been pretty cool? 6 hits? Not really, but it's been effective.
It's pretty in its own right, though. On a night where they haven't been able to get it going. Good teams find a way to get it done. And they didn't find a way to score 2 runs. They found a way to put 5 on the board and take a commanding lead in this game without their best stuff. They haven't looked awesome, but they found a way to move guys around and be productive.
There's a ground ball that could be 2. Wolf starts it up. Neto is pretty to first. There's your inning ending, 6-4-3. Campbell has 9 outs to work with as they trail by 5.
We are not merely an institution of higher education. We are transforming lives and empowering students to become leaders.
Leaders in our communities, in our state, and throughout the world.
Leaders in innovation.
Leaders in service to our neighbors.
Join our movement. Join our community. Join our mission. Lead with purpose. Lead with Campbell.
Crust is the most important part of stuffed crust. It's half the name. Papa John's crust is made from 6 simple ingredients. 7 if you count all this cheese. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Papa John's is known for its crispy, fresh crust full of warm, fluffy pockets. And now they're known for stuffing those pockets with cheese. I love you, cheese. Get a new epic stuffed crust pizza with 1 topping for just $12. Papa John's.
In the last 10 years, Emerge Orthopedics has really been on the forefront of doing orthopedic urgent care. We realize that a lot of these accidents happen after hours, and patients want to get seen and get diagnosed and get taken care of. Emerge has a number of orthopedic urgent cares throughout the Triangle, and some of which are open 7 days a week, open till 9 o'clock at night, and that's been a huge benefit to patients. Patients routinely give us compliments on that and the care they receive there.
Looking live at Jim Perry Stadium here in Buies Creek, North Carolina. A statement series in this Big South Conference. Tonight, High Point dropped a 3-1 decision to Radford. So, here in the conference standings, Upstate at 3-0 in the league, Campbell at 2-1. Those are the top 2 teams in this league, and it comes down to this matchup here in Game 1. Granted, this race is definitely the tortoise in the hare. 40 conference games on the year as Grant Harris smacks one foul into the left field corner.
I think the biggest statement tonight has been Upstate coming in and how good they've looked. I mean, it's not like they have one aspect of the game that's really good or, possibly 2. They've played all 3 pieces of the game well. They've hit, they've pitched, and they've played defense. And that's a recipe for success. I don't care who you're playing, midweek, Friday, Sunday. Doesn't matter. They're competitive, and it's competitive 1 through 9.
Jordan Marks has been competing all night. 6 innings of work, 8 strikeouts for the right-hander, who's looking for his 3rd win on the year, trying to bounce back from a tough outing against Radford last weekend where he gave up 6 runs. Boy, Grant Harris hasn't missed real much, just a bit late.
Now they're jumping on it. They're trying to get on fastball. They're just running out of time here late, and it seems like they had a couple chances early, but they let Marks off the hook, and the further he's settled in, the better he's looked, and it's getting late, and you can tell he's right where he wants to be. He's still got his best stuff out there on the mound.
Sitting on 92 pitches. Marks does not look tired one bit as that's called outside.
No, that's one of the better changeups he's thrown all night, and really a classy take there by
Chocolate
Harris at the plate.
Cookie dough scoop. There it is. I just keep thinking of that Geico commercial when you scoop a low outside pitch.
Definitely catchy.
I need ringtones in my life. Here's the 2-2 to Harris. Slider stays in for a full count. Grant Harris this year, 3 walks to 7 strikeouts. He'd love one here to extend this inning against the cruising Jordan Marks. That should do it. Fly ball to center. And a nice start to the bottom of the 7th for USC Upstate.
Well, when you get into a 3-2 count against Jordan Marks, he doesn't walk anybody, so you're going to get something competitive. And right there, Harris is just outclassed by this fastball. He's explosive on the mound, and he's been able to beat the majority of these Campbell hitters with that fastball all night.
So Bryce Arnold trying to kickstart the Campbell offense that has just 3 hits and 2 errors tonight. Very uncharacteristic for a Campbell team that had really cleaned up the defense the last 2 weeks. They'd won 4 of their last 5, but have had no answer for Jordan Marks.
They haven't, and that pitch right there has been a large piece of it. He established the bottom corner bottom outside corner to a right-handed hitter early, and he's been going to it and has essentially dialed up everything he's wanted from there. But really a good take there on the slider, but that's a pitch that's thrown off of the fastball. If you can establish the fastball in the outer black, you can start the slider there, and we've seen a ton of swing and miss on the chase with the slider that's going right off the plate.
Think about this whole game. Marks has been up 1-2 to almost every hitter, it feels like. He has 1 walk on the season in what now equates to 25 innings, and hitters like Bryce Arnold have been guessing down with 2 strikes all night.
They have, and when you have a guy that throws hard with a 3-pitch mix, the last place you want to be against him is in a 1-2 count.
Marks back to work and gets his strikeout. 9 Ks, that's a new career high for Marks.
Once again, that is the slider that is set up by that outside fastball. It starts in the same spot. It looks the same out of the hand, and you see where it ends up, nowhere close to the plate for another swinging strikeout.
Jordan Marks in his last start. A lot of balls that were hit hard where he wasn't standing, according to Coach Mike McGuire. He's come back tonight and has missed bats pretty much from the start.
Yeah, he's looked excellent. Great control, great command. Really looks the part.
Obviously, if you're Campbell, as Ty Babin swings and misses, this is a prolific offense that came in hitting .280 as a team. What adjustments can they make late in this game to try to steady the tide or at least get themselves going offensively?
It's just looked like they haven't had a plan. And when I say that, you should be getting closer to where you want to be every at-bat you get against a pitcher. So whether it's eliminating a pitch, that's fine. You know, if you can go yank a fastball down the left field line, you're probably going to get changeup or breaking ball. But they haven't been able to eliminate anything from Jordan Marks. And so here we are, you know, in the 7th inning. He still has all 3 pitches, and we've seen guys continuously chase slider off the plate after taking fastball in the corner, and that makes it really easy as a pitcher. And the last thing a highly touted pitcher needs is an advantage. That's exactly what they've given them. They have not made their adjustments throughout the game. It looks like their first at-bats all over again.
Pitch 101 is called, strike 3. 10 punch-outs for Jordan Marks here through 7 innings. USC Upstate making a drastic statement here through the first 7 innings of play. Trying to move to 11-0 on the year. A Campbell offense that had been clicking coming in with a nice win on Tuesday over College of Charleston. And now Cole Hallam for the home squad in Campbell. They are looking for answers, knowing there's 2 games tomorrow. It is a long series, but it has been all Upstate here tonight.
It has been. And if you're Campbell, you're going to remind yourself you're in a very similar situation last weekend with Gardner Webb shaking the first game, able to come back and get the next 2 on Saturday. So the weekend's far from over, but here they need Heinzman to finish this game and save the rest of those bullpen arms and try to get out of here with some sort of an offensive approach. If they can get out of here with a couple small victories, they'll never tell you that they're accepting those, but they would gladly get out of here with a bit of momentum the way this thing's gone.
Tomorrow's pitching match could be even better. Thomas Harrington, who has won every start he's performed, there's a strike to Adam Grobe, versus Alex Barbarick, who you thought the numbers for tonight's starter is great. Barbarick's been even better in that middle of the role for the junior right-hander. Remember, Garbrick was a starter for Morehead State 2 years ago, a late-round pick in 2019, elected to come back to school, and is now undefeated, thrown 6 innings in every start. Just another quality arm for this Upstate team.
And that's what we're going to see this year with so many guys coming back, getting another year of eligibility. The arms are going to be deep. They're going to be, intense. It's going to be a ton to deal with. And a lot of times these hitters are facing guys with a ton of experience that know how to get hitters out. And when you add that together with some dangerous stuff on the mound, it's a tough recipe for success at the plate.
Logan Heinzman settling in this inning, gives up a deep fly ball into the gap. This ball's got some legs on it, and all the way to the wall at one, hops it in right center. Looking for third is Grobe. The DH stretches it out for a triple to start the inning. What a swing from Adam Grobe, his first extra base hit of the year.
They've been aggressive, and they've looked really, really good on fastballs. We've seen a couple balls in that right center gap. It seems to be carrying pretty decent for the nighttime here in Jim Perry Stadium. And what a start, what a way to get your offense going. Try to put another one on the board and ease that bullpen even more.
Logan Heinzman trying to get outs, 2 innings of relief, knowing that with tomorrow's game, we've talked about it a bit tonight, you have to be a little bit strategic if I handle the bullpen, and this might be Heinzman's inning to eat up. Now he faces Chase Matheny. You thought this game didn't matter. How about the infield being in the 8th inning of a 5-0 game? These runs are critical now for Upstate.
They are. Everyone they've gotten across has felt like they've stretched it out just a bit further. And, I think essentially it's really a tough go at it right now with it being 5-0. I think 6-0 about seals the deal.
Nearly a run right there on a foul ball off Matheny's bat. Every hitter in this Upstate lineup has reached base. A team that comes in prolific, 20th in the country in batting average at .315. That'll only rise tonight. After the Campbell starter, Ryan Chassie gets into the 5th, but only goes 4 1/3. Heinzman's 0-2, stays off. Then Jack Yusko came in, escaped some damage in the 5th. It was still, a 3-0 ball game, very competitive. Then between Yusko and Heinzman, some trouble in the 6th, and that's when this game took a turn.
Well, I think it's been impressive on Upstate because they haven't done anything outlandishly great at the plate offensively throughout this game, but they've just stayed on the gas pedal. They've continued to have guys on, and great pitch right there. Good strikeout on the slider by Heinzman. He struggled to find it, but that's the execution he's looking for. But once again, they still have a runner on third base with only 1 out. They've continued to apply pressure, put themselves in good situations.
Just the 5th strikeout at the plate for this Upstate lineup, where conversely, Campbell has struck out 10 times against Jordan Marks. And yeah, he actually has. He struck out the side once, has punched out 2 in 3 innings. That's a lot of punch outs for the right-handed ace of the staff. Jack Hennessy corks one to short. Wolf goes to the plate, and then yes, there's a tag from Babin. Nifty slide, but not able to avoid it was Adam Grobe for the 2nd out.
Great slide by Grobe. I think he fooled Babin initially, almost got himself around the tag. But
well, I'm glad Babin reapplied it because that could have been a Sports Center play. That was a great slide.
Yeah, that was almost close to a top 10 play for a second. But boy, good job for Babin staying with the play. Make sure you get the tag.
Brian Miller did call him out initially, but you saw that confusion. I think it even got us a little bit with how he how do you pluralize matrix? Matrixy? He pulled a matrix. I guess it's a verb. It's not a possessive.
Would it be matrixed?
God, we're communication majors.
Could
we can't even figure this out. 2 outs to the top of the lineup in Jason Matthews, who's been triggering up hits in this game. What is so it's not a plural, right? Because you're using it as a tense.
So would current tense be like matrixing?
I guess you can make an adjective
right?
out of it, yeah. Matrixing the runner? Avoiding? I'll just use avoid.
Sure. I'm good with that.
Probably the easier SAT word of the week. Here's some trivia for you. USC Upstate, their best start to the year. It's back in the 1980s. They were Division II program at that point. And they are rolling here tonight as that ball scooped up by Ty Babin. Their former coach, Matt Fincher, won 499 games, stepped down at the end of the 2019 year, and in comes Mike McGuire. Year one, 13-5. Wow, great start. Can it sustain? It really has, 10-0, and they've looked very good to start this series.
They have. I've really just loved the intensity they've brought, not even on the field, but just in the dugout. You feel like every guy's involved, and that goes to the establishing a culture.
Hennessy's off for second, swipes another bag for the speedster. It's his second steal of the year.
And a good job understanding that ball is going to be in the dirt, out of the hand, gets a great dirt ball read, able to slide in safely, even with Babin jumping around behind the plate. But you can't help but think Babin's been beat up quite a bit tonight. We've been talking about him, and he's making diving, sliding blocks. And
to your point, even on that pitch, he blocked it about as well as he could. It's going to, even if that ball gets knocked down, it's a stolen base if you read it right, like Hennessy did.
You're exactly right.
2-2 to Matthews. Talk about a statement at bat. Jason Matthews started this game with a triple into the right field corner. All of a sudden, he scores within minutes. And Upstate, who brought the energy, the juice in this game, jumped out 1-0. Kind of a little sword or a dagger into the chest of Campbell to start off this series.
It was. I just, the attack early was so, it almost looked like Campbell was a bit flat-footed on it, and they took the lead. They were off and running. They never looked back. But you can't help but love when a team just comes into a ballpark of the defending champions and just tries to take it to them. The aggressive approach, the aggressive dugout defense, the whole nine has just been, they've taken it to Campbell in all aspects of the game.
Logan Heinzman trying to escape this eighth inning. Runner off for third, and Matthews pokes it foul. To your point, Cole, last weekend Campbell was in this exact spot. They dropped the opener to Gardner-Webb. What did they do the next two games? Well, how about this? 21 runs, 2 grand slams. It was the offense that carried the load on that Saturday doubleheader.
And they've looked good. They've always answered the bell. They've responded to losses well, like a championship team would, which you would expect. But if you want to be a great team, you have to find a way to win on Friday nights. And so far, they have not had the recipe.
Matthews flares one to right, and this wraps up the top of the eighth inning. Campbell with 2 innings to work with, trailing by 5 here in the series opener. USC Upstate leaning on its top reliever here in the eighth inning, Austin Morgan. We're coming in to replace a fantastic start from Jordan Marks, who struck out a career high of 10. And now Morgan with 2 saves on his tally. This is the big inning, Cole, because if Upstate gets 3 outs here pretty quickly, I'd imagine this game is washed up, ready to go, and pack your bags for the ninth.
Well, you're exactly right. I love the call to bring in a big arm. It's only a 5-0 lead. But in the other side of it, as a guy that has saves experience, closer experience, he's got to feel like he's got all the cushion in the world with a 5-run lead. He's a guy that's usually going to throw with 1, 2, 3-run lead. So out here, he's in a great situation. He's just got to pound the strike zone, not give away any free passes to a Campbell offense that's struggled so far tonight.
Austin Morgan has lived on his slider. It's his best pitch in these spots. And he attacks Waldy Arias with a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. So this is Campbell's fourth turn around the lineup. They have just 3 hits tonight. Arias has actually reached base every time. A walk, a hit by pitch, and a single.
That seems to be the Waldy special right there. He gets hit all the time. He's patient at the plate, and he always finds a way to slip a knock into the lineup. So
just enough singles to make you think he's a true hitter, right?
If he keeps doing it, I don't know if we'll be able to say anything about it. But
he gets on 45% of the time, which is insane. There's strike 2. Good slider. I see why Austin Morgan's slider is very good. That looked pretty nice there.
It is, and typically when you get a bullpen arm, it's going to be a two-pitch guy, a guy that's going to rely heavily on fastball, and in this case for Morgan, the slider, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him go back to it right here.
Time called by Arias at the plate. So last weekend, Gardner-Webb struck out 15 Campbell hitters in the series opener. Tonight, 10 strikeouts. On 1 and 2, and it's a bouncing breaking ball.
I think largely, in both games, you can deal with losing. Sometimes it's going to happen. You're going to have to deal with it as a baseball team. But you cannot deal with an offense that does not make adjustments. And that's been the key for Campbell tonight, is not learning from their at-bats. We've seen the same approach to their hitters time after time, 4 times through the lineup now, or on our 4th time through. And there's just been no changes. At least make guys work to get you out.
Arias trying to reach base for the 4th time tonight. And more importantly, started the inning with some traffic against Austin Morgan. Now the payoff pitch to the slider high. And Arias, his 2nd walk of the night.
Oh, he's got one of the better eyes on the team, if not the best eye on the team. That's a great take right there. A slider that does not miss by much, but no hesitation for Waldy. He understood where it was at. Gladly takes his free pass.
Really the first amount of traffic Campbell's had on the bases since all the way back in the 3rd inning against this upstate pitching staff, setting the stage for Connor Denning. Been waiting to say his name a bunch tonight at the plate. He's 1 for 3, but very quiet against Jordan Marks. Then again, there weren't many who did much against Jordan Marks tonight, who's in line for his 3rd win of the year. Cole, you mentioned that hard-to-kill offense for Campbell. This would seem to be the inning. If they're going to make a comeback, it needs to happen right now in the 8th.
You're right, and they need to get at least one. If you're one swing of the bat away, you can deal with it. But right now, with it being the 5-0 lead, they need to get at least 1 run, possibly 2. Even then, it's long odds at a comeback. But they just haven't been able to amount to much tonight. We talked about a couple of loud outs early on in the game, and it seems like, right there through that middle stretch of innings, we really didn't have a ton to say about the Campbell offense. They seem to just be getting fooled quite a bit by Marks, and kudos to him, credit where it's due. He is a great arm, and he's earned everything he did tonight, but you'd love to see just a little bit of an adjustment.
Denning awaits the 1-1, smacks it out of play to the left side. Connor Denning, the best slugging percentage in this league, which equates for your extra base hits, your power production. And his lone hit was a bloop single back in the 3rd. Trying to do damage against one of the top relievers for USC Upstate in Austin Morgan, coming off a 2-2 3rd inning outing last weekend in a win against Radford, as he hits Denning with 2 strikes to put 2 on.
And this could be just the break that Campbell's been waiting for. Haven't been able to create a ton, but sometimes when opponents create opportunities for you, you're just 1 swing away, and they find themselves here with Neto coming to the plate. They're 1 swing away from making this a 2-run ball game. It could be completely different to end up.
Upstate starting to warm up arms in the bullpen here. This is a tight spot for a club that is 10-0 on the season, playing about as well as any team in the country right now. There's Zach Neto with nobody out. I was about to ask you, would Neto try to bunt? Instead, he takes ball one.
Campbell is too far into this game to trade outs for runs, in my opinion. I think, if they're chasing 2 or 3 runs, yeah, sure, scratch one across, but they're too deep into this hole to be trading outs for runs.
Here comes Adam Brown, the assistant coach and the recruiting coordinator, as the bullpen gets loose for the Spartans. Trey Miller warming up. And you do wonder with the control issues of Morgan how long the leash will be for Upstate.
It's always just a bit of a weird situation. As a guy that's seen closer experience and closer roles, I know when I was in those positions, you never wanted to come in if it was over 3 runs, because essentially there's just not as much pressure on the line. It's a different circumstance. So you wonder if that affected him at all in it being a little bit lighter moment than possibly what he's used to.
USC Upstate, the top ERA in this conference, and now they have some work to do in this inning after a leadoff walk and a hit by pitch in succession. Good swing by Neto.
And if you're Campbell, that's the swing you want from Neto. You don't want a defensive take. You don't want a passive swing. You want a guy up there that understands the situation and goes and takes an aggressive hack. It's a big moment, but step up. You know fastball's coming against Morgan, who's had some control issues. You know what's coming. Go up there and get your best swing off.
Neto hitless tonight, but 3 hard hit balls, 0 for 3. We've mentioned it ad nauseum, but Campbell 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position. What a time to change that narrative here in the 8th. Strike 2. All it takes is a meeting from Adam Brown, the pitching coach, and the assistant head coach, and here comes Austin Morgan settling in.
And sometimes that's all it takes. Go reset the clock out there, give your guy a breath, and let him get back to work.
How about Morgan with runners on base? His batting average against .091. That's winning baseball out of the bullpen.
And that's the hole you get yourself in if you get these big arms in the game late. Last thing hitters want to see is set up guys in closers, because they know the stuff they have. They know they get tougher with runners in scoring position. So when you're down late in a game and it's close, you're going to get the best they got, and that's what we're seeing here tonight.
Jordan Marks out of the game after 7. Here's Austin Morgan looking to shut down the 8th. And a 1-2 to Neto, misses outside. So this inning for Campbell offensively, it has started like you'd expect, a walk and a hit by pitch, but a much different approach. You mentioned approach all night, a little bit different from the lineup here tonight.
There's a bit more aggression this inning, a bit more intent behind what they're doing, whereas it looked like there's just not much of a plan early, not a lot of intent behind anything. So, if you're wrong, you're wrong, but at least go after something with everything you got.
Swung on and missed. Big strikeout for Austin Morgan.
And Morgan gets away with one there. Not his best pitch, has not been able to find that slider for the most part. We've seen some misses. Leaves that one up. Neto not able to cash in on the high breaking ball.
Spencer Packard, who gets on base better than any player in this league, digs in. The exact hitter Campbell wants up, and for Upstate, the exact reliever they want in this spot.
You're right, and I think if you're Campbell right now, you're happy. This is the guy you want at the plate. Packard has been swinging a hot bat. It's a great right-left matchup with Morgan on the mound. Advantage Campbell. We'll see who comes out on top.
That is called inside. Upstate jumped out to a 5-0 lead in the 6th. This is Campbell's best chance of the night. With men in scoring position. Arias at second. Now Denning at first. Packard with the patience, 2-0.
What's been interesting to me is when we've seen Campbell have success so far this season, and really in the past, they've caused havoc on the bases. They've been borderline reckless trying to advance 90 feet. And it's been quiet so far tonight. Not a ton of action. The Upstate pitchers have been very composed and calm on the mound because Campbell's not been trying to stretch the issue.
Just one stolen base for Campbell tonight. That was from Packard, who's at the plate, and he fouls off strike one.
Usually it seems when we have Waldy Arias on second base, he's hopping around out there at least disrupting timing. If not trying to get an extra 90 feet and steal third. Campbell will steal third as often as they'll steal second. But
and you do wonder in the 8th inning, as much as you're aggressive, you also got to be smart.
You do. I would just love to see some action out there from him, at least bouncing around, trying to disrupt timing. Anytime you get bullpen arms in there, it's a great opportunity to deal with somebody who doesn't have runners all the time on base and try to take advantage and win a pitch, because you're one pitch away from elevating a fastball here to Packard and getting a home run or a double, and that changes the whole game. So it is odd to see how quiet they've been on the base paths tonight.
Now 3-1 is way inside. The bases are loaded on 2 walks and a hit by pitch. Setting the stage for the Grand Slam king of the Big South Conference, and Matt Christian.
I was just about to bring it up. This is not the guy you want at the plate with the bases loaded. He'll find a way to get it done, and he'll do it to any part of the ballpark. We've seen 430-foot home runs to center field. We've seen home runs to left. So he's a big, strong guy. You got to be careful with this one.
Matt Christian, 2 grand slams this past weekend against Gardner Webb. Now he digs into the biggest spot of the ball game. Morgan gets strike one with a slider. That has been the approach against Matt Christian tonight, who sits 7th in the country, 19 RBI. A dangerous pitcher against a dangerous hitter.
It's definitely been their approach. It's been a successful approach, and I would not deviate from it now. He's showed he will swing at that, and he's also shown he'll chase. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him try to extend out of the strike zone either.
Now to the inner half, 0-2. Following Matt Christian, it's Colin Wolf. So the best power threat and maybe the best player on this team. What a moment for Campbell offensively.
This is what it's all about. This is college baseball. This is 2 teams expected to finish at the top of the conference, and it's a little early on in the season, but this is college baseball at its best.
Morgan on 0-2. Puts away Christian with the breaking ball.
And that's a frustrating at bat. I know Christian's. He's frustrated as well. The night has not gone his way, but you would think, if you're in that situation, you almost have to go in hunting breaking ball. The bases are loaded. You can hit the ball a mile. Nobody in their right mind is going to cook you a fastball over the middle. And that's just been his struggle tonight. He's not been able to change his sights over to that breaking ball.
His 4th strikeout moves the tally around to Colin Wolf with 2 outs, who is 0 for 3 tonight. Morgan again to the slider. That's his best pitch, and it's been working great.
It is. He struggled with it early, was really just rushing his delivery a bit. That's why you see a lot of hung arm side misses from it, but has figured it out since the mound meeting. He has it dialed in, and he's getting on top of the baseball. It looks great. Great depth and great action on that pitch.
Something's got to give. The best pitching team in this league against one of the best offenses in Campbell right now. Morgan replacing Jordan Marks, and he is 1 strike away from escaping this bases loaded jam.
And that was probably the pitch right there. Colin Wolf wishes he would have hit. He's now in an 0-2 jam against a guy with a wicked slider and a low 90s fastball. That one was a bit elevated out over the plate, and really probably the most hittable pitch he'll get throughout this entire at bat.
2 walks and a hit by pitch have started this rally. Now can Wolf extend the inning? This could be the breaking point of game 1. USC Upstate jumped out 2-0 in the first 2 innings. It's been all Spartans since. And now Campbell, its best chance of the night. Bases loaded with 1 out. Christian goes down swinging. Here's Wolf on 1-2. It hits him. A run scores in Waldy Arias, giving Campbell its first run of the night.
Well, Colin Wolf's no stranger to getting hit. He's what Coach Hare would describe as a grinder, a guy that finds a way to get it done. And right there, 2-strike count, big situation. By all odds, he should have lost that battle, able to find his way on. But that's the pitch that Morgan just rushes his delivery on, leaves it arm side a bit, and it catches that elbow guard of Colin Wolf for the hit by pitch and RBI.
Here comes the head coach, Mike McGuire. A pitching change is in order for Upstate. This is a big moment in this game. One swing could change the score, so we'll take a break as the Spartans go to the pen. Here in a 5-1 game, it all comes down to this battle here in the 8th. Second reliever of the inning for USC Upstate, and Trey Miller trying to retire with a tight jam. Game could be tied with one swing of the bat here in the 8th. And Miller coming in for his 4th outing after going 2/3 of innings scoreless against Clemson on Tuesday.
Well, baseball's an untimed game. Evan, we can be here all night, and this thing's gotten exciting here late. We're one swing away from being tied up, and it's a big moment. You can feel the pressure out there, and it's gonna be a ton of fun.
We wondered in this spot, would Grant Harris stay in the game following the pitching change, and Campbell's electing to go to its bench. This is the freshman Daniel Brown stepping in, maybe his biggest spot of his life, the freshman from Broughton High School in Raleigh. Excellent pop from the left side and giving the freshman a chance here in a critical series opener.
We've seen some freshmen on the field for Campbell. We've seen some of them do some great things in big situations. It's not typical, but when you're getting those highly touted recruits, they're ready to go. So excited to see what Daniel Brown's got here in this big situation.
Second career at bat for Daniel Brown. And he faces Trey Miller. A run in on a hit by pitch to Colin Wolf. There's the home run swing, but nothing coming against Miller. So I see why Justin Hare made the move right here.
Well, he's looking to strike lightning in a bottle. It's got a ton of arm side run. It's a tough matchup for a right-handed hitter. So bring in a lefty with some pop and let him see that ball run and see if he can get some barrel on it.
There's strike 2.
But that's the problem when you bring in a lefty with a guy with a bunch of arm side run. That ball essentially starts on Brown's hip and runs back over the inside corner. That's tough for any lefty. You almost want to give up on it as soon as it's thrown, but you got to teach yourself to hang in there.
Trey Miller trying to close out this 8th inning that Austin Morgan started. Ground ball to short. Good positioning by Matthews to make the play. We go to the 9th. Upstate hanging on to a 4-run lead.
Power isn't born, it's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers, whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain, and we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Our new house is amazing. Great street, huge yard.
There is a bit of an issue with our neighbor's fencing. At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
Which helps us save even more.
Hey, Sarah. Hey, Peter.
Touche.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
We are not merely an institution of higher education. We are transforming lives and empowering students to become leaders.
Leaders in our communities, in our state, and throughout the world.
Leaders in innovation.
Leaders in service to our neighbors.
Join our movement. Join our community. Join our mission. Lead with purpose. Lead with Campbell.
USC Upstate sitting with a 4-run lead in this 9th inning. Doing a nice job on the pitching side of things, escaping a jam. And the club with the best ERA, batting average, and fielding percentage in the Big South now faces Jonathan Tyler in relief. Another 6th-year senior out of the pen. His job seems pretty simple, Cole. Give his team a chance to hit in the bottom of the ninth.
That's his only job, is to go out there and make quick work of these guys and get your offense back up. Try to build on the little bit of momentum that you got last inning. Big opportunity missed, possibly, but they're able to get one on the board, break through a little bit, and they need to try to build on that and roll into tomorrow with some confidence. Even though they're only down 5-1, it's just they got a lot of work to do to get back in this one.
Jonathan Tyler, 3 innings of work this year, 3 runs allowed. And this Upstate offense that has been clicking tonight, Julian Rip gets things started. Every starter in this lineup has reached base tonight for the Spartans. And 3 hours win. They've kind of controlled most of this game from the start.
Leading off 9th inning for the Spartans, right fielder number 34, Julian Rip.
Julian Rip has what Coach Mike McGuire calls some scary tools defensively with his speed. And that bat picked up the tone as well. Base hit in the first inning to drive in the opening run.
We also saw a possible run-saving play from him in the outfield, cutting that ball off. Campbell's not able to score and answer in the bottom of the first. That set a huge tone to start this game off.
That's when the two teams were chirping at 5 o'clock before the sun set. Then it went down and became more business casual in the evening. Not necessarily full suit and tie affair, but there's a bunt foul. You do wonder with Jonathan Tyler here, can he settle and give you a quality inning? That's been his bugaboo. It's either been excellent or a little bit unorthodox for the senior reliever.
And you're exactly right. That's his story to a T. He's a guy that has always had the stuff, and nobody's quite sure why it doesn't produce on a night in and night out basis. But it's there. You never quite know what you're going to get. But he could strike out a ton of guys, or he can get himself in trouble as well.
There's your strikeout. Ty Babin completes the process. And Jonathan Tyler settling in.
And that's a great breaking ball from Tyler. A pitch he does struggle with at times, can leave it up, can find a bit of control issues, but it's so sharp, it's so good that if he can make it a believable pitch out of the hand, it's a strikeout machine.
Jonathan Tyler, 8 strikeouts in 3 1/3 innings. It's unique, too, because he also has 4 walks, a couple hit by pitches, some doubles allowed, but strikeouts, it's like you're getting the best of everything with him.
Yeah, it's always, it seems to be one thing or another every night he's out there. He struggles with tempo at times. He struggles it's almost like a confidence or a belief thing in his stuff, and you start to wonder why, because he's a big body out there. He's in the low 90s with the fastball, great off speed. If he could dial it in and get ahead in more counts, he gets dinged up a lot behind in counts when everybody knows he's throwing a fastball.
Devin Buckner watches this ball bounce in. And you think back to 2019 when he was a high-leverage reliever, came in tight spots. It was his first year with the program, had a sub-3 ERA, and really was an effective 7th, 8th inning situational type reliever.
And he still should be. If he's able to produce on a night-in and night-out basis, he has closer-type stuff. The problem is he doesn't have closer-type tempo, and the guys behind him tend to sag a bit when he pitches. It just tends to take a little bit of time, and then the air kind of gets a little bit looser, and then you fall behind in a count. Now your defense has been standing still for a couple minutes, and things can happen when that happens.
It's 2-1 to Buckner. This game's generally had pretty good tempo. Both the starters, Chassis and Jordan Marks, worked quickly. But Upstate got Chassis quickly out of the game, just 4 1/3 innings. And now it's been a bullpen battle since you're in game 1. Tomorrow's unique because it's a doubleheader. But also, more importantly, Upstate has rested most of its bullpen options for games 2 and 3. While Logan Heinzman, you would think, is out for tomorrow. USCO possibly because of the sidearm angle. And then it seems like Jonathan Tyler might be a one and done for the rest of this weekend.
Yeah, I'll be interested. And a lot of it depends on how Tyler looks tonight. 1, 2, they're going to also factor in his pitch count. I think we see USCO tomorrow in a high leverage situation if it comes up. But I think, Heinzman can punch his card for the weekend with his pitch count being up around 40. It's highly unlikely that he'll make an appearance tomorrow.
Tyler, the 4th pitcher of the night, gives up a ground ball out of play. And I think it's an audition for Jonathan Tyler as well, finding his role in this bullpen, because he's been all over the place. 7th inning, he's been a closer, he's been a long reliever, he's been a starter in his first year in a midweek fashion. So where is his situation going to find himself, especially as a 6th-year senior who knows this is kind of it for his career?
Yep, and a lot of it comes from that long walk around the mound you just saw. He has to fix his tempo problem or he will never pitch in a meaningful inning.
This ball gets away on strike 3. He didn't foul it off either, so Buckner gets on with a wild pitch.
That was an interesting pitch. That was really a pulled fastball. Might have cut it just a little bit, but a ball that Babin couldn't even get a glove on. I was surprised to see a swing.
The pitch runner, Chandler Kelly, comes in for the catcher, Buckner. And now some more speed for the Spartans, who know this run is clearly important because Campbell had a big chance last inning with the bases loaded. This game could easily change with one swing.
Yeah, I think Upstate could have gotten a little tight last inning, seeing how close this thing got in a hurry.
Here's a line drive into the corner. Packard's got a long way to run and makes the basket catch. A chance now to turn 2. Just a bit late. An incredible play by Spencer Packard.
And he looked very comfortable going out there to right field. He had a beat on that ball from the start, gets a great break, takes a great route, and really makes a tough play look pretty routine out there in right field.
Packard had just played left the entire game. Goes back to right field. A nice athletic play from the Campbell outfielder. His defense has really improved too, because Packard was a first base DH type of player in his first year. He's lost some weight. He's bulked up and looks more athletic in the outfield.
He does. He looked great running that ball down. He looked right at home, and that's going to be great. The more versatility they have with him.
Good block by Babin, who fires a dart to second just a bit late. There's a steal for Kelly. Okay, now, so think about this inning, right? Strikeout wild pitch, a bounced turf ball that really, that's a tough play for Babin. Upstate is one bloop swing away from maybe putting this game out of reach.
They are. That's what they've done all night, is just find a way to get runners in scoring position, and you'll see them sack fly, you'll see them hit balls to the right side, just create runs, and that's what they've done. It hasn't been spectacular, it hasn't been beautiful, but it's gotten the job done.
This while their RBI leader and Jack Gallagher is 0 for 3 tonight, committing on that swing. I think he did. Oh, wait a second.
That's the one I have trouble with. I'm not sure.
We've talked about this all night. I'm not sure if the first base umpire, J.R. Brown, was locked in there.
He wasn't looking.
There was an appeal. There was a second appeal. And I think that's where Brian Miller can kind of take control of that situation.
Yeah, I don't think that he was necessarily paying close attention. I thought he went for sure. It looked like he crossed.
And we're unbiased on that one. That just looked like a clear swing as there's strike one. And there's your gimme call. That pitch could have literally bounced in, and Brian Miller would have called it a strike.
Oh, you'll see some makeup calls in college baseball.
Well, that was one of them because that pitch was pretty low. So it's all evened out now at 2-1 here in the 9th inning of Game 1. Gotta love, too, this whole crew comes back tomorrow, doubleheader. They get 45 minutes off. That's it. 9 hours of baseball crammed in to win the series. Upstate coming off a sweep of Radford. They won both games in convincing fashion on Saturday. Campbell, the same thing on the other end. They lost Game 1, dominated Games 2 and 3 to take that series last weekend.
And this is going to be a big hitter right here for Tyler. 3-1. This is where he gets dinged up. Everybody in the park thinks he's going to throw a fastball. If he can throw a breaking ball here, I think, one, he'll get a swing or a take, but he should have a pretty good chance of getting a strike.
That ball hits him. Runner goes to third, and off the glove of Waldy Arias. Just a wacky sequence here. First and third for the Upstate Spartans with 2 outs.
He went to slider. It was a non-competitive pitch at about 50 feet. Really a great job by Babin just being able to block it up and even have somewhat of a play at third base.
2 outs for Cameron McIntosh, who started this game with a bang. Home run in the second. Started the inning kind of just find your way back into the game, and that shook up Ryan Chassie for a brief minute. Who gives up 3 runs on 4 1/3 innings. There's ball 1. It's interesting tonight because Tyler is 1 pitch away from making this a 1-2-3 inning, at least in terms of getting outs. Yet it feels like it's been a high stress, a little bit induced some trouble, and now he's got to settle in here and get through this 9th inning.
It has, and this is what changes him from pitching in situations like these versus being a closer. There's never a quick inning. There's not a ton of ease in his outings, and you're always 1 swing away, and as a closer, you know damage can strike at any time.
This chopper snakes over the glove of Christian. There's your damage. Now going to third, and easily gunned down. Arias there with a tag of Gallagher to end the inning. But a 2-out base hit makes it 6-1 USC Upstate as we go to the bottom of the 9th. Campbell down to its final 3 outs here in the 9th. Leaning on the designated hitter Bryce Arnold to get things started at the plate. This Upstate pitching staff leads the conference and ranks top 25 in the country in ERA. Now it's closing time for Trey Miller. Got a critical out in the 8th. He'll face 8-9-1 here in the 9th. Remember, in the 8th inning, it was a couple hit-by pitches and walks that started the Campbell rally. They still have just 3 hits in this game, but 9 runners left on base.
And you can't miss opportunities against good clubs. Upstate's not undefeated because they're giving away a ton of opportunities. So you know that when you do have them, you can't let them just really vanish. And Campbell's gone away quietly for the most part, had a big opportunity last inning, but nothing to show for it other than the 1 run, which at this point in the game's a little past due.
Arnold 1 for 3 in this ball game as one of those 3 hits. Miller right back to work on 1-1. Gives up a ground ball to short. Matthews has been everywhere tonight. Easy first out.
Yeah, sharply hit ball there by Arnold right at Matthews, but he looks smooth out there at short. We haven't seen a ton of him. I'd like to see some more because he made that play look pretty routine.
Coach Mike McGuire said that Jason Matthews may be the best shortstop in the country. Of course a coach is going to say that, but there's some validity to it as well.
Well, you see guys make plays, and it always looks a little bit different, but the best guys make it look easy. And right there, he just flipped it across, and you saw the arm strength. You saw how easy he ranged to his left. That's a good shortstop.
That's a player in Matthews who grew up, of course, in New Zealand. They don't have baseball as their main sport. He played fast-pitch softball growing up. Quicker reaction time, obviously a different size ball you're playing with, and a whole different element of emotions, but he's been locked in defensively at short.
You can tell because, in softball, everything's quicker. Everything's faster. The bases are shorter. It's the same game, but it's played a whole lot differently. And typically when you take people playing at that fast pace, you move them back, you give them a bit more time, you spread the bases out. You saw how slow the game looked to him. He looked so comfortable in his position and, really just casually threw it across.
Campbell down to its final 2 outs. This is Ty Babin, the 4th-year catcher. Babin scoops one into the corner, chasing back after it, and making the catch against the wall. Julian Rip, maybe the MVP of this game for Upstate.
Well, you talked about how much you loved him from the start of the game, and he really brought it tonight. That's the second great play we've seen from him tonight in right field.
Ripley's, believe it or not, it's got to stick.
After that one, I'm good with it.
Well, there goes Julian Rip robbing another base hit. That could have been a double for Babin. This game started with Campbell hitting balls on the screws that were recorded for outs. Now in the 9th inning, it's up to their best threat getting on, Waldy Arias, who's reached base every time tonight. Taking strike 1. That run at the top of the 9th seems critical. 6-1 now, as the Spartans taking advantage with a 2-out hit to extend the lead. Campbell down to its final strike.
I got to bring it up before we get out of here. I give Babin a ton of credit for how low he gets behind the plate, works up through the baseball, but you see Buckner back there as well, and these guys have worked so hard for their pitching staff. I think Buckner's done a great job managing the different arms that have come in and just continues to work. We're here in the bottom of the 9th inning, and he's sitting on the turf stretched out trying to work for his pitcher. He's won his guys a ton of strikes back there, and I think his pitching staff, I think they're pretty happy to have him back behind the dish.
Upstate trying for a series opening win. And the check swing goes foul. USC Upstate started this year 10-0. Very impressive, beating the likes of College of Charleston in a 3-game sweep. Of course, dominating at home with a 6-0 home mark, but then going to Clemson this week, getting some national attention for this program. And here they are, 1 out away from shocking the preseason favorites in the Big South in Campbell. Now the 0-2 pitch. That stays foul. Even the defensive play there of Noah Raybon. And this team just fields the ball so well.
Yeah, and a ball that I think Raybon probably knew was going to be foul, but by all means show it off. He might have gunned him down at first base too, the way he hopped off the turf, but they have energy. They're infectious with energy for Upstate, and we felt it all night tonight.
Here in a 6-1 ball game, the Spartans are one strike away from a dominant opening win. And a new baseball is in order. The start from Jordan Marks was excellent. 7 innings of 10 strikeouts. Now Austin Morgan and Trey Miller have combined to put the finishing touches on this one. Arias down to his final strike. Extends the game. If that's not a Waldy Arias thing to do, I'm not sure what is. A man who has now reached base every time he's come up in his on-base percentage to 460.
Yeah, I think, if you're a betting man, I think the walk and the hit by pitch, possibly a single to the right side, are pretty good bets for Waldy.
He's the top of the lineup here for Campbell in this 9th inning. Trey Miller on 1-2, gives up a line drive to left that falls in for a base hit. Arias with a multi-hit night, 2 of the 4 hits for Campbell.
And you talk a ton about good hitters not ever giving away at bats. In a game that almost feels essentially over with 2 outs, chasing 5 runs, Waldy refuses to give in, gets sawed off a little bit, and is able to get it to the front, get a cheap one. Texas leaguer out there to left field, continue the baseball game.
How about Arias in a game where Campbell's offense has done next to nothing, has gone on 5 times in 5 plate appearances. Just something special to watch him play. Connor Denning smacks one out of play. You think back to the 8th inning, it was a 5-1 game. Campbell had the bases loaded with 1 out, only scored 1 run. A huge impact moment in this game.
It was. I think another thing we've seen from Upstate as well is look how deep their outfield is playing. They've taken away 3, possibly 4 doubles from Campbell just by their depth and where they're starting in the outfield. And we've seen Campbell get beat a couple times over their head on deeper fly balls, but they've done a great job. Their outfielders have showcased a ton of range, and they've seemed to have been in the right spots all night.
This combination of Matheny, Hennessy, and Rip have been all over the place here at Jim Perry Stadium. Now can Trey Miller finish it off on the hill? Maybe not just yet. Little blooping line drive that goes foul. Hits have been hard to come by for this Campbell offense that have been rolling with wins in 3 straight games here at home. And now the question is, where's the offensive production going to come from tomorrow with that doubleheader coming up?
I think they'll react. I think we'll see the true Campbell offense come out, and will that be enough to get them on top? I don't know after what we've seen tonight from Upstate, but they have showed better on Saturdays so far this season.
Another 0-2 is poked to Matthews, who on the run makes the throw to first, and the defensive prowess of the Spartans is on full display tonight, taking the series opener 6-1 here in Buies Creek, North Carolina.
Well, and Upstate comes to town and lives up to the hype. They look good in all aspects of the game, but really, hats off to Jordan Marks. Really set the tone in this game, never gave Campbell a chance, and they're looking pretty good heading into tomorrow.
The series is on the line tomorrow. The Spartans at 11-0, moving to 4-0 in the conference. The lone undefeated team left in the Big South. For my partner, Cole Hallam, I'm Evan Budrovich, signing off from Buies Creek, North Carolina. Remember to watch this broadcast on ESPN.com and the ESPN app. But for tonight, the Spartans 4-0 in the conference. They are rolling after a 6-1 win.